Okay, so we're back with part 2 of the Games Freezer 10-year anniversary podcast. We got up to question 7 on our last outing. So we're going to pick up from where we kind of left off, and we're going with question 8, which is, what's a game you didn't expect to enjoy but ended up liking? So I think I mentioned on the last podcast, like the first part, that I tried a game called Greedfall, and that was going to be my answer. But as I talked about it at length, I think in the first half of the podcast, just because I think we were talking about something else, and then we came on to what's one that you played and sort of ended up playing more of. So I thought I'd throw this other one in that's more recent, which is called Toaster Ball. So it's so I'm always on the lookout for games we can play with a family, you know. So and it's normally multiplayer games. And this one popped up, came into the old Games Freezer inbox, and I had a look at it, and it looked really cool. So I thought I'll give it a go. And basically, it's 2 toasters with 2 slices of bread. Each toaster's got 2 slices of bread, right? You're in an arena. It's like Pong, for example, but side-on Pong. You're in an arena. You've got these 2 toasters. You've got a ball that gets released by one of the toasters by firing a piece of toast up at a button. Okay, and then once the ball's in play, and what happens is the ball gets released. You got to time it so as it's pointing towards your opponent rather than your goal. And once it gets released, you've got to make your toaster jump to try and almost head the ball back to the other end, or you can fire your toast up. So to intercept, but your goal is actually covered with like pieces of wood or different, depends on the arena basically as to what your goal is.
And they just knocked away, do they? Is it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you know, like what's that, breakout, I suppose, similar to like the breakout mechanic of slowly every hit takes a piece of sort of your goal protection away, and then on one of the levels I think is ice or whatever, and on another it's wood, etc., etc. And then so you're literally 2 jumping toasters firing up these pieces of toast. If you drop your toast on the floor, you can hop towards it and then get it back in your toaster, because obviously without your toast you're a bit naked,
limited to that little.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all about timing, then trying to get your jumps right, and you can do a double jump as well, I think. But yeah, on the face of it, it looked like, I don't know, just something that someone had thrown together, and it was probably going to be
a couple of minutes.
Yeah, like a good one for like you say, a couple of minutes or whatever, a 10-minute taster, and I never think about it again. But then I played it on the 10-minute taster, and then beyond that, I've been playing it with the girls and whatever, and it's fantastic. It's such a good fun game to play multiplayer, you know, 2-player. The only problem is it hasn't got like I'm a sucker for a tournament mode, you know what I mean, like a season,
like a knockout sort of,
yeah,
like a campaign sort of thing where you can
there's nothing more to it other than just playing against each other. You unlock new arenas and stuff like that, and you can unlock new parts to the arenas as well, because there's like you get random floors as well, which is really cool. So like there'll be things that pop up out the ground, or you might be a hole in the floor, so you might fall down it and things like that, which is really cool. So they've put loads of effort into that. But I went out to the developer and said, "Oh, you're going to put like a single player kind of campaign, or even just a league, you know, just so you can play a little season and see where you end up?" And he said, "No, we've got no thoughts of doing that. The only thing we want to do is trying to take it to esports." So that'll be interesting to see if they make it to the esports arena.
Best of luck.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my one. That's the one that's kind of up front in my memory at the minute. So I know you've got a couple on there as well. So
that does sound cool. Funnily enough, like I've got a young son as well, so I'm always on the lookout now for other ones, and not, this wasn't my answer, but on this sort of topic of indie games, there's one I'm reviewing at the moment called Balloony, and it's just you're literally just 4 balloons of different colors. We play it to 3 of us, and you can like roll left and right, or you hold the button down to kind of puff out and float slightly. And I was playing it with like my fiance and my son, and we were like, "Oh, this is really cool." It was really easy, and then it just went boom, and it was hard. silly music and you're like puffing balloons. I was like, oh, this is fun. And it's like, fucking hell. And instantly like getting popped and stuff by spikes. So I quite like that. Though. I do like that. And another one is good family one that I have reviewed already. It's called Spearmaster, and it's basically 4-player Pang or Buster Brothers.
Oh,
Where there's like,
nice.
of course, anything like that that's 4-player. Because when people talk about the arcade classics, Pang is the one that I really loved. I found that really addictive. So yeah, Spearmaster is a good one. But
yeah, we had a Pang machine in our local taxi firm. Me and my mate used to go down there and hang around in the taxi firm. They always used to get like a rotation of an arcade machine in there, and they had the Pang arcade machine. It was 2-player. It must have been 2-player. So yeah, it was always a good time until your 20p's run out. But yeah, used to enjoy
that could be another good thing for a future podcast. Could be like the old arcade machines and memories of those, because they popped up in some odd places, just and stuff, really bizarre.
Big time.
So yeah, a game for me that I didn't expect to enjoy, but I ended up liking. Not so much I didn't expect to enjoy them, but like when like you said, you get indie games and especially when it's made by like one bloke, and you can. I never really. I try to approach everything we review as just like a blank slate, because I'm really averse to hype. I hate hype. It actually puts me off things. So I quite like it when you like the 3 I've got listed here that really stuck with me were Streets of Rogue. Have you ever played Streets of Rogue?
I think I did a 10-minute taster on it. I'm pretty sure I did it a 10-minute taster. I remember you reviewing it, because I remember you.
Yeah.
I think you might have gave it a 9 or maybe a 10. Was it a 10?
I think it was before we did numerical scores. It was like a nice cool, but it would have been like a 9.5, because it's made by like 2 blokes. I think there's Mike something did the program, and then someone called Craig something did the music. And I've got the album on vinyl. The music is so good, and it's just such a simple thing where it was kind of you have this when you get like we get them in the Games Freezer inbox, and it says something like, I do apologize, I've got a bit of a cold. It'll say, oh, Deus Ex meets Zelda meets Streets of Rage meets GTA, and you're like,
really ambitious, reaching there.
One bloke from Swindon, you say. So it was like that. It was like, oh, there's touches of Deus Ex and GTA, and I played it, and I was like, God, it really is. It really is so smooth, and it's got this whole character thing. There's about 30 characters in there, and each one has different limitations and powers, and it does. I'm not one for replaying games. Like when I finish it, I like you. I love a campaign, and when I finish the missions, I'm kind of like there's a bit of my brain that switches off. But Streets of Rogue, we had a golf weekend a few months ago, and the first night got kind of rained out, and we just played through it again, like me and my brother and my cousin. And so that Streets of Rogue is a huge recommendation for anyone who likes sort of just brilliant indie games. Really, the second one I mentioned I got here is one called Pico Niku, which was on Game Pass for a long time, and that was another one. Like I had it to play, and it was just you play this basically this sort of blob, and you're called the Beast, and you live in this mountain, and everything's sort of primary colors, and it's like really simple visuals, and you just go through this town, just sort of helping people on these little quests. But it was so charming and so well written that I found myself. I really like laughing at games, and I don't not in video games. Quite often the dialogue, it's especially play RPGs, it's so kind of flat and wordy.
They're just introducing a fetch quest, and generally aren't they? And you're like, oh,
and you think, okay, which is fine because I love RPGs. But when I play something like what was it called, the Chase McCain, the Lego World game on Wii U, I laughed so hard through that game. And with Pico Niku, it was just so funny in everything that it had. It was so charming, like family friendly, that it felt like a hug. And it was one of those games when I finished it, I was like, oh, I'm gutted about that now. So I'm kind of holding it back for my son to be a bit older, and then I'll just play it through again with him, because
that's a good shout. That is cool.
And the other one is similar, and a game I always rave about, is Tux and Fanny, which is based on a really bizarre kind of pseudo-Russian web series about these weird it's like pigeon Russian, like Tux and Fanny, and it's all like distorted on a VHS. It's about these two people who live in this, effectively like a purple and red stick men who live in this house, And I got the game, and again, you get the game to review, and I'm like, what is this? It looks like an old Atari game. And it just is one of the best games I've ever played because there's 25 mini games in it. It's made by two blokes.
Yeah.
And it's just really charming. And it feels like a vision that they said, oh, let's make a game like this. And then they made a game like that. There was no committee involved. I look at you, Starfield. It
Yeah.
felt like
Yeah.
one person's vision, and it's
Yeah.
such a pleasure. I've got to get the Blu-ray actually. But so yeah, I really like approaching every game with it as a blank slate and then just being blown away by the sheer creativity of developers. I think that's what gets me. I really love it.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like the amount of great games that we see come through, like these indie games, and you think, "Oh, I wonder how many people have actually played that and will actually realise how great it is, because we're lucky because we get it through what we do, but they just don't get the exposure, and it never sort of filter. I mean, it can filter if it catches like the right streamer, for example, the right.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it's purely maybe people like us, word of mouth, and then it's other than that, because they haven't got the budget to do the marketing, have they? And sort of
No, when in my group of friends, whenever like they say, "What have you played?" and I was just mention a few oddities that they might not come across, and things just get buried in Switch sales. They just get
yeah,
buried. And
it's not a very
and
good shop front either, is it? For anything
no,
to
it's
find
just
anything, it's a
there's
nightmare.
just the filtering is astonishing on it.
Yeah,
But I love it when I know someone has bought something off my recommendation. I just feel like, right, I've done my bit. That's
yeah,
fine. But with
yeah.
with Tex and Fanny, I've just been asked by what are they called, Debug Magazine, to do an article on like what game you love them. I
Oh,
was like,
wicked.
I'm fucking writing about Tex and Fanny, and then
Yes.
but then you talking about like the exposure of it. I thought it was hands down one of the best games I've ever played, and it could have been
Yeah,
released on the Amiga on Super Nintendo. It's amazing.
yeah,
And then I remember like a month after it was released, they said that it sold like 600 copies on Switch. And it's like,
man, that's
yeah,
crazy, isn't it?
it's just a shame. It deserves to just be thousands. So
Because
that
you just know how much time and effort has gone into creating any game, even if you're just trying to create a little side-scrolling platform where
platformer.
it takes
Yeah.
forever, doesn't it? I mean, I've had a dabble at trying to do Unity 3 or 4 times and just can't get past the whole just getting Unity to like start and like having a plane.
Start.
It's just I really want to make my own game, but it's just anyone who puts one out there and for it to be amazing, but then still not get the recognition it deserves or the people playing it that it deserves. It's quite
Yeah.
heartbreaking, really. But
And I think your what you just said is sort of reflected in our approach to like with your 10-minute tasters and the way I write reviews. I only have fun at the expense of a game if it's very, very good. Like I'll only
yeah,
make jokes in a review if it's like 8 or above, out of 10. Because I just think no matter how bad it is, someone's put effort into that, and to just
yeah,
attack is just lazy. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. This is
Pointing and
it.
laughing at something is so cheap and lazy. So
Yeah, I mean that
how
might be their first game as well, and so the next
yeah,
game, it could be amazing. I mean, there's a lot of times when I read your reviews and you'll say like, "Oh, there's something there," but it's coming in at like a 5 or a 6. There's something there, and I'm really looking forward to see what they do next, because maybe that's their first game they've put out, or that they're still on the journey of trying. Because if it's 2 people or one person, they're just putting things
yeah.
out there and hoping that it sticks, but they're learning as they go along as well. So you're along for that
Yeah,
ride.
especially when you pay like 5-6 quid for a game, and it's like
Mm,
okay, a bit middling, but there's a little bit of magic there. It's almost
mm.
worth that just to get that anticipation for like, oh, the next one could be like a really cool game that
Yeah,
kind of is built for you, sort of thing. So
yeah. What's them ones that you that you do? Is it the cop ones? Are they German? I can't remember now.
Autobahn Police Simulator.
Yeah, that's
Fuck me.
it.
It was the second one came out, and it was so bizarre, like such a bizarre game. And then they released the third one, and what they did was they kind of made it. It was like they tried to bite off more than they could chew. Again, it was
Yeah,
buggier, and they kind of taken out all of the, like, for instance, right, Autobahn Police Simulator 2 was released like 3 or 4 years ago, and it was just odd, and it was a 7. It was like Peggy 7 or whatever the rating is.
yeah, yeah,
And the first quest in it, I remember this, is the tutorial is like trying to track down someone who's chucking bricks at cars off a bridge, and then you track him down by finding out which fags he smokes. And I was like, this is policing. This is what I want. And then the second mission, bear in mind, Peggy 7, stopping someone from trying to commit suicide.
Oh my god.
And it's just bizarre stuff. And I was playing it, and it was like
Wow.
so janky, but it was so unique in that, like, I genuinely, when anyone spoke to me in the game, I thought, I have no idea what you're going to say. It's brilliant. But yeah, the third one was just a bit more plain, which was a shame.
Yeah.
But, there's always the fourth one.
This is it. Yeah, they've always got like chance
Yeah.
to pull it all together in one great game. You never know. You never know. Oh dear. Right. Okay. So that was our number 8. So we're gonna move our way on to number 9. So
I'm really glad you remember that, actually, because I remember some games just like we've covered hundreds of games, and some of them just like something someone says really nails in your head. I love it.
That one always sticks with me because I think you did did you do the first 2? I think you did the first 2 on the site. I know you definitely did the second one. And then it was kind of like, there's something here. I remember you saying, there's something here. Looking forward to see what they do next. And then the third one come along, they've gone backwards kind of thing. It's like, no.
Yeah, I was gutted. Really gutted. Some games like that, I look forward to more than like some people look to like the next Resident Evil remake. I'm like, oh, come on, Autobahn Police Simulator 4. That's right. It's just for me.
Yeah. Our brains are wired maybe slightly differently. I'll leave it to other people to hype the next thing while we look for the next nugget, don't we? In the indie minds. Love it. Right. Okay. So number 9. What game are you playing right now? So I've got 2 on the go at the moment. I don't normally do that because I like to concentrate on one because I don't get that much time outside of doing the website to actually just play games for the sake of playing games. So, but at the minute I've got 2, and one of them's a mobile game. It's SteamWorld Heist. I don't know if you played any of the SteamWorld games before.
Yes, I've played most of them. The SteamWorld Heist is that the one where you're like shooting bullets and they bounce off?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I've been playing that, and I think I got it on a sale of some variety. It was like 29p or something ridiculous like that, and I was like, oh, I'll have some of that. So, because I liked Dig, I played the first SteamWorld Dig, which I really enjoyed, and I've got Dig 2 on the Switch 2 plays. That was in another one of those really cool Switch sales. It was like a £2, £3 or something ridiculous like that. So I thought, right, I'll have that. And then I've got Heist. So I started playing Heist a while back on the mobile, and I haven't enjoyed it as much as I thought I would. At first I thought, this is going to be great, but then over time I've just found the mechanic to just
wear itself out a bit.
And it feels a bit too long. I mean, that's a bit weird to say that for a mobile game, but it feels like it just outstays its welcome. I'm on the last level, I think, and I've just lost all like the will with it because it's got super hard as well. And I think what you've got to do is go back and level up all your characters, because I haven't been doing that. I've just been using the same little posse each time to sort of complete the levels, and I've managed to get through this far, but I think without leveling up on my other characters, I'm not going to be able to sort of exploit the final. They're like robots. I think they're called the Voltron or something, or the Vectron, the final ones. So I don't know whether I'll carry on with that, but like I say, I love the SteamWorld games. I like the aesthetic. I like there was a recent one, SteamWorld Build,
which is Max reviewed on Game Shows, and he gave it like 8 or 9 out of 10.
Yeah. I played the demo and it was really cool. Yeah. So it's a shame. I thought that was going to be a good one. Well, to be fair, I've played 99% of the story mode, so it must have something,
You've got your 29 pence worth, you think?
Got my 29p. Yeah, tick. Yeah. It used to be a time where it used to be, can't be paying for a mobile game. Do you remember? It was always like every mobile game was free, wasn't it, back in the day? But I think nowadays it's you can accept paying a bit, even the 29p.
Mobile games are like a weird, because I very rarely play on my PC, and I very rarely play on my phone.
Yeah.
But sometimes, especially having like a young son, sometimes you're stuck in a situation where it's just you and your phone. It's like,
and I do it while the girls are swimming. That's when I play.
Yeah. Like when they're doing something, you're like, check my phone for a bit. And I had over the years, and I mean like years apart, I've had games that have kind of grabbed me. But what I really want on my phone is a turn-based, like either a game like Shining Force or like a first-person thing, like kind of Dungeon Master.
Oh, okay, yeah, that'd
Either
be good.
kind of thing. And I've had a couple. There was one called The Quest and Legend of Grimrock, that kind of thing. But I need them to be really simple because you dip in and out so quickly.
Yeah,
I don't want something that's really full on. So, and
no,
I feel like that's my eternal quest to find, because again, the search function on the App Store, the iOS, is
yeah,
abysmal.
absolutely.
They push sons at you, push shit at you, and just and like, oh,
Yeah,
what about this? And you're like, no, these games look terrible.
yeah,
I don't want to play anything. I don't want to play a clicker. I don't want to play like some weird version of Diablo on my phone. And I would rather pay a few quid than have adverts.
yeah.
So,
No, I
but
agree.
yeah,
Yeah,
if anyone hears of like a decent sort of turn-based, like I will do it, like something like Shining. Like Dark Deity was great on the Switch because it was kind of like Shining Force,
yeah,
but the sequel is like a year or two off, so I'm waiting for that.
yeah. No, they're weird. The weird thing with mobile games is just like you say, it's it's a certain situation you're in where you're going to play it. You're not going to pile hours and hours into something, but you're going to pile 10 to 20 minutes into it. I tried playing the Football Manager games on mobile.
It
Of
always
course,
comes back to
it's going to come back to football. Yeah, standard. So, and it's because it's you feel like you need a mouse. I mean, you just feel like, oh, I can't. This don't feel right doing it like with your finger or whatever. So and they're really highly rated as well. They get really good ratings on the store, and they're well priced as well because it's like a cut down version of the PC sort of version of Football Manager. But yeah, it just doesn't feel right. It needs to be. This is why this Steam World Heist works pretty well because you're directing your
trajectory of the
trajectory.
bullet.
Yeah, you're just kind of like pushing, dragging it with your finger and
Because
sort of
I know
pointing.
we've had in the past, and I've still got them here somewhere. Like you have the kind of the holders with it,
Yeah,
but I want a game that I can just get my phone in my pocket and dive
yeah,
in, and then if I get distracted after 2 minutes, put it away.
yeah.
Don't care. It's just
I'm not
yeah, and I
fiddling
just
around with a controller
yeah,
in
like I'll
like
put
a
it in because I
yeah,
feel like if I'm doing that, I'll just get my Switch because that's
yeah,
got more of a sort of curated library of games for me personally. So yeah, it's a weird one. I just feel like there's probably, if I sat down with someone who was like a real mobile gamer, they could make some amazing suggestions, but it's just such a landmine. Sorry, like a
yeah.
field of nonsense that
Yeah,
every time I sit down, I think, well, I'm going to find a mobile game. I just get lost and then I lose interest.
yeah. Or I'll download four, and then I'll try one, and then I'll forget I've got the other three on there, and then I'll go back to my phone one day. Oh bloody! I forgot to load those other ones, and then by that time it's lost. So
Yeah, and
it's
the
a weird
magic's
one.
gone.
What are you like when I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you're playing publicly on your Switch. I'm always a bit self-conscious. I don't know why, but I've always have been. Like, I feel a bit weird. Even on a plane, I felt a bit weird pulling it out. There's everyone looking. But you shouldn't feel like that. I know you shouldn't, but it's kind of weird.
I know that
Why that is.
Pixel Hunted was said the only time, I don't know if you remember this, in one of his reviews, I said to him, "Oh, basically we get sent loads of visual novels, right? And like they're so time consuming and specific that not many people
Yeah.
want or have the time to cover them." And I said, "I've been sent this visual novel," and he's like, "Oh, I'll play that. I played the prequel," and I sent it to him, and he said, "Oh, this is like a 40-hour visual novel about like lesbian vampires." It was like anime, and he said he was in his Switch on the tube because he lives in London, and he was like, maybe not here, but it just tickled me just because the thing is just pressing X for ages, reading bad dialogue.
Yeah.
But no, I know what you mean. I used to take my Switch to work because I would love to review games and work on my lunch hour, but
Yeah.
people just piss me off asking like, "Oh, what are you playing?" And you're like,
Yeah. Yeah. You almost
so
just want to lock
like,
yourself away
yeah.
for
It's
1 hour.
so
You only want 1 hour, and then
let me just let me get into Championship Manager 3 for God's sake. So
yeah.
that kind of as I set it up my Atari AGS and but no, I know what you mean. I see you feel self conscious, but I would on a plane. No, I don't feel self conscious on planes, but I don't. I'd never play in a situation where someone's like next to me and they can just watch this. But the same way I wouldn't be on my phone because I just feel like someone can just look at it and you're like,
Yeah,
well,
it's true, isn't it? Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just that kind of invading a personal space that bothers me more than I'm being a bit
Yeah.
new. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got the Steam Deck as well, and I've never played that in public actually, but it's so bloody big compared to the Switch.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like a beast. It's like that, you're holding like a lump of meat almost, like a massive thing. So it's kind of like, yeah. I've never taken it outside of the house. I don't think. Plus, I'm scared to drop it as well. So that's the other thing. So.
Speaking of the Steam Deck, the other day is the first time. Do you know when you have a console and you can feel it coming to the end of its life? You're like, oh. Like for instance, right? I remember when I was playing Dragon Age Inquisition on my PS3, and it booted up and it was like fucking chugging along, and the load times. I was like, oh, I should be playing this on a PS4, really. And it was like that was like the good night sweetheart that my PS3 was like, oh, it's time to retire you now. And then I remember I was playing I had a game. There's a game called War Tales, and it could have been a game of the year, but I played it on Switch, not on Xbox, and it is just crippled by the hardware. And I was playing it and I was thinking this game is absolutely amazing, but not on Switch. And I was playing it and I had to just stop. It was so just struggling, and and it was the first time since 2017 I thought, oh baby, it's coming. It's coming to the end. Yeah. So
they're going to announce a new one, I think, soon, aren't they? Or like formally or whatever. So it's it's about time. It does this funny thing where I don't know if it's got a fan in there or not. I think it just kind of puffs out air because you can't really like hear it whirring, but it's just kind of exuding heat. Like when you're playing, it's like, whew, what's going on in there? It's not like going. It's just like getting hotter and hotter.
Batteries just like, you're like,
No, it's on its way. I think our second set of Joy-Cons are starting to drift again as well, which is annoying. That's one thing I hope they sort out, those dirty Joy-Cons. Well, I don't know if have you had any problems with your Joy-Cons?
Yeah, with all my friends had it, and it was almost like smallpox. It was like someone's like, I might have started drifting, or mine are okay, or might have drifted now. I was like, oh, what is it going to happen to me? And it just did start happening. And it's funny because you play in a game with a character just looking, like and then
that's it.
What? And yeah, it's sort of limited because I got third-party ones, and they were not good, like the spongy buttons and stuff. And so I use controllers now. I've got two really nice third-party controllers I use, but
that's what I
have to. Dock mode is a struggle because I'm not paying whatever it is, 60 quid for like. I just think that those Joy-Cons, they need to be fixed because I have not had a problem with any other.
No, nor have I. Like any controller prior has always been all right, hasn't it? So and they talk about this thing. Have you heard of Hall effect controllers? They're kind of so instead of having a moving part, so that's what they're saying is the problem. There's like a moving part or a part in the existing Switch controller, the Joy-Con, that wears or gets dirt in it and it causes the drift. It doesn't have a moving part, but it kind of tracks where these Hall effects one. It tracks where the stick is, right? Electronically, I think it is, or something like that. So that means that it can't have the drift. But what Nintendo did is they did the cheap version and save money that way, and that's why apparently we get the drift. So, and I did all the things on YouTube. If you put a piece of cardboard inside the thing and you push it against the back and it creates a contact and this, that, and the other, and it never seemed to work. So in the end, I bought the Nintendo ones for another 70 quid or whatever. But now they're even wearing out again, which is a right pain. But
that's what bothers me. I find like replacing something really tedious. Like you've got a really nice telly and it breaks, and you're like, well, now I've got to spend 400 quid on the same thing.
Exactly.
And 70 quid for like controllers just seems really tedious. And
they're not really controllers, are they? They're like they're the 2 bits of a 3-bit controller if you think about it, because you need something in the middle, and you get that at the start. But it's kind of like, why am I paying all this money for these? But yeah, it's
So
frustrating.
it has been. Yeah, I hope that's one thing they sort out because it is. And everyone, I would say, like 80% of gamers have had problems with their controllers, and it's like
Yeah,
it just shouldn't be the case. Like if you drop something and you know if you drop something and it breaks, you're like, okay, I shouldn't have done that. With the
yeah.
Joy-Cons though, the fact that it's just almost like a natural shelf life. What 24 months in, like
Although
might have been drifting for years.
Nintendo of America, they allowed people to send them back in and they'd replace them free of charge, but they never did that over here. I don't know if they still do it in America. It's probably been too long now. But when it first come about, they was like, yeah, just send them in and we'll send you some replacement ones. But that never made its way over here. So that was a bit of a
It's a
bit of
shame.
a
It's
scam.
not like you get your phone screen cracks. You can take it somewhere for 30 quid and get it sorted. If it was
Yeah,
like you're taking it to a shop, tenner, boom, done. I wouldn't have minded that.
yeah,
But the drift has been a real problem. Yeah.
yeah. Although they're doing a lot of the right to repair stuff for the minute, so maybe that'll help going forward. So I think it's something like every company should stock the parts so as you can fix it yourself. And that means it'll be cheaper because obviously you could just buy the little part or whatever it might be. And it should be easy to do as well, the way they build them. But that's a long way
Yeah.
off. But yeah, apparently, again, in America, they're sort of raising some sort of, I think, some lawsuits or whatever just to push that along. And some companies like Apple have adopted it, I think, already or something like that. But yeah, hopefully in the future.
I'm reminded now of us doing this podcast why it takes us so long to get through questions because I just realized it's just like what game you playing right now? What game you playing right now? You said toastable, and that was it. So you said you're playing 2. What's the second one?
Oh yeah, and obviously Dragon's Dogma 2 right now. So
Yeah.
that is all good.
Look, my answer on here was Dark Quest 3 and my review list. I'm always chipping away at like various books or vinyl or games.
Yeah.
So should we just talk about Dragon's Dogma 2 for a little bit because I've been looking forward to this with you.
Yeah.
So
did you play the first one?
Yeah. Did you ever play the first one?
I didn't. No, but I heard a lot about it.
I remember when it came out on PS3, and it reminded me of Alpha Protocol because it was like a game that I played Alpha Protocol and Dragon's Dogma, and I thought brilliant, absolutely brilliant, wacky, like mid-budget, but just Barbie games. And then other people were like, "Oh, that was at least my son says we can't," but that was crap. And I thought, was it though, or was it the best experience I had all year? And I think that. So the first one came out, and I just assumed within a couple of years they would knock on a Dragon's Dogma 2 because it was so unique.
Yeah.
And when they said they were doing it for this one, I was lucky enough to get a review code, which I'm going to send over to you this week. And it's just like a new generation version of the same thing, and it's like that's all it needed to be. It's such a unique premise, and it's so like oddly lovable because you said it. You said it's an antidote to Starfield, whereas on the last half of the first part of this podcast, we were talking about how it felt like a game made by committee and just completely homogenized, and all the characters just basically just talked out of it. You play Dragon's Dogma, and it feels like a AAA budget of a game that is the vision of one bloke. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's the game. That's what we're doing. I'm not going to be talked out of it. So what is your speed of it? Because
it's been from minute one. At first, I'd heard so much about it. I was a bit scared of it actually because the people saying, "Oh, and you've got to make sure you've got the right party members, and you've got to make sure that you pick the right vocation, and you got to." I'm thinking, "Oh no, this is going to be a right time sink into just sort of like trying to work out what the best build is and all the rest of it." And I went with an archer just because I thought, I fancy doing archer, and I think I've lucked out because it feels like I can cause carnage from a distance with my bow and arrow and watch my party pile in with all their madness. And I'm learning as I'm going along as well because I can be at distance and sort of see how the battles. Oh right, I see how that works. Whereas if I was maybe more of a melee character, I probably might be having a bit more of a challenging time because it's the first time I played a Dragon's Dogma game. And a lot of people have said, "Oh, there's no lock on," for example. And I was thinking, I suppose if I was a melee character, that would be a bit of a crappy one if I didn't have a lock on, But as I'm an archer, I can just sort of pick people off and then build my little party and get to know my pawns, you know, and almost like sad to see them go when I have to sort of pick a new one because
when the leveling gets and you're like, I have to sit behind you.
My level 2 is no longer any good anymore. I've got to get like a level 9. I'm so sorry to see you go, sort of thing. And
what I find about it is like that. You see, you get a cool pawn, and they're really cool, and there's always been problems other people have had where the pawns, and this goes back to the first game, repeat the same things. But it doesn't bother me, because to me that's such I'm not there to get like immersed and lost in this world. And when people repeat themselves, I'm taken out of it into real life. I'm there to have fun. And like for me, it's that I know that like the plot is completely superfluous. I love the verticality of it. The fact that when you're around these craggy mountains, you feel like you could bump around and discover something. And I think the best parts are the stories people tell of the things that are kind of like the emergent narrative to themselves. Like, for me, the best parts have been like when you go on the ox carts and you go between towns, and after it was a few going back and forth night and day, and the wolves attacking and goblins. You're like, whatever. And one time they were like, we're being attacked. I thought, oh, bloody wolves, and I got out, and it was just an ogre, and then I was fighting this ogre, and I was like, I didn't expect this, and he like just killed the oxen. So I was like, okay, now I'm gonna have to walk anyway, and I've paid money. And then I kind of, as we were whittling him down, I looked up, and there was another ogre watching, and I thought,
man.
Don't jump down. Don't jump down. And then he did jump down on the ox cart, smashed it to bits, and I was like, right, no, I'm really walking. And then a griffin landed, and I thought, right, they'll fight. So I kind of backed off, because I love melee, and I was like backing off. And then like just started running at me, and then I ran off. And then the griffin lost interest and ran off, and I was at Wicked, and I got to the town, and then someone said, "What's that?" And I turned around, and the ogre was in the city, and I thought, oh shit. And then like another time that really tickled me was, I got into another fight somewhere, and I was coming back from a quest, and I was on a bridge, and I was on the cliff above a bridge, and this like Cyclops just like hit me off down onto the bridge, and I thought, don't fall in the water. Landed on the bridge, and I stood up, and then he jumped, and I thought, oh, this is going to be I'm going to die. But he misjudged the jump and just jumped over my head straight into the water, and then he just said, oh, you've leveled up, and I was like, and like that's just me wandering around, and I think that's the strength of Dragon's Dogma is it feels like you're just wandering around these fields, and something will just happen, and you're like, this is brilliant. This is my
what
experience.
You need. And it's the total opposite to Starfield, where you wander around for ages, bugger all happens. If I land on the moon in Starfield, I'll walk for miles and I could scan a couple of things, and I'm thinking there must be something around there. And then you go into a cave in Starfield and you just wander around in the dark and you find fuck all. And then you come out and you're like, oh, okay, so I've got a bit of like whatever, I don't know, calcium or something, and then that's about it. Okay, that's great. And really, it's all like it's window dressing. Whereas in Dragon's Dogma, you can walk around any corner and it feels like there's always something to discover, even if it's just a chest. And they say, oh, there's a chest. I mean, they say it a lot, but like you say, it doesn't really matter, because then it's down to you to then like work the puzzle out. Okay, I wonder how I'm going to get up there. I wonder if I can do this or that or the other. And I've heard that some pawns have specific talents that they can use to sort of lift you up and put you on a higher platform, whereas other times you'll be able to jump from one thing to another, do a bit of platforming yourself.
That's another thing, is like working out. There was one part with there was a pawn with like a really booming voice, and he was like, "Master, follow me." And I love it when they say, "Oh, I've done. My other master's done this. Let me show you." Like,
that's cool, isn't it?
He was like, "Oh, a chest," and I said, "Yes, but it's on that plateau about 60 feet." And he just started gliding up there. And he was like, "Follow me." And I thought, "But I can't, can I?" But I like that kind of thing. It's just
brilliant.
Like you say, the quests, some of the quest lines are so vague, where it's like, oh, go and rescue my son. He's run out of the village somewhere to the west. And you're I'll just have a wander there. But that's the thing, you're wandering around and it's getting dark, and you don't want to use your precious fairy stones up. And I'm thinking, do I go back? Oh, this is a time-sensitive mission. He could be eaten by wolves, but I kind of like that. The vagueness of it.
And it's making you think each time, like there's jeopardy. There's always jeopardy, right? So you're having to think about okay, I've got to pre-plan this, right? Have I got my camping stuff? Right, I've got my camping stuff. That's good. Okay, well, I'll head out. Well, if I walk this way, I know there's a camping spot over there, so maybe I'll kind of hedge my bets a bit and get close to the camping spot. If it gets dark, I've got that. You know, I'm
You're
actually
kind of
thinking.
you're always lost in the moment
Yeah,
of like of the game and like your path and I love the little I know you see it so much, but the cooking steaks, the little
yeah,
video
that's
of the
cool, isn't it?
it's like
Yeah,
it's just great and with the what was I going to say, the whole thing when it kicked off and the microtransactional side of it. I originally when that happened and it came out and after the reviews they said, oh, you know, there's a lot of. It's like, well, there's microtransactions in most games I've ever played, and I've
yeah,
never. If you, it's not like it cripples you. If
no,
anything, not buying loads of fairy stones makes the game more fun because
yep,
the fun is in the traversal. The
yeah,
fun isn't in quick travels and teleporting.
no,
You're kind of in Skyrim, yes, when you kind of see a certain area, it's all the same. But there's something about the battles just feel so epic in Dragon's Dogma that
yeah,
they're always different, especially if you've got a different party with you. And
yeah,
I I just think that I hope they just like in a few years just knock out a third one, and it's just a next
yeah,
gen version of the same because
yeah,
it's
yeah. Just
yeah.
evolving on what they've already done and giving
I
us
kind of
more.
we should swap pawns.
Yeah,
We
that would be
should.
cool. Yeah, yeah.
We'll have to sort that out. But
Are you? What are you playing it on Xbox?
yes, yeah.
So I'm on PS5. Can you do that as long as you have to be friends, don't you? I'm assuming on the Xbox platform. Is that right? I
I
don't know.
don't.
I don't know how it works. I'm not sure.
I have to have a little look. I need your bank manager with me.
Yeah, he needs to come in. Yeah, I made him say he's got this hunch as well. I was quite proud of that. I was like, oh, you can sort of adjust the way he stands, and he's over like this. So he's been working at a desk for
Oh,
the
it's like
last 60
Michael
years.
Madsen with his forward neck carry. But
Yeah,
with ours, I made the main character because I can't not make an old bloke with my kind of long hair
yeah.
and just make him as old and as buff as possible. And that's just what I do. Like he's gods on the Amiga, and Brutal Sports Football, where it's just a load of old men with beards.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
my son and Faye said, okay, you can make my main pawn. And they made like a, what is it called, a beastren. And it was like a cat. And
Yeah.
I said, oh, what do you want to call her, Axe? And he was like, a cat. So I thought I'll jazz it up. Like AKATT. So it does sound like a
Nice.
name. Just a
Nice. A
cat.
cat. Yeah, that fits. Yeah, that's spot on.
But
Oh
with
dear.
but yeah, basically Dragon's Dogma 2, I think, is going to be one of the games of the year for me. Just because
Yeah.
it feels like it's not the fun, all of the fun in it is about it being a video game. It's the kind of
Yeah.
thing that they would try, it would do really well, and then they'll say, "Oh, we'll make a TV series." And you're like, "What?" It's a game. It's a
Yeah.
game, and it's all the best parts of being a game.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't take itself too seriously. I like the voice acting's almost like amateur dramatics, which I think
Oh,
is really cool.
and the
And
old worldy English as well.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really I don't know if that's intentional or not, but it's fantastic. It really fits. You know, it's like this. It's almost like a farce that's going on in front of you.
Yeah,
Like, I walked into a pub. I don't know if this is.
I've never heard the word ought so much.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
ought
ought, yeah,
here.
yeah,
You ought to do
yeah.
naught. Yes,
I see
Jesus,
you in the. Oh, there's a word they say when they say I'm going to see you soon. I can't remember what it is now. Oh, and then I'm just sort of like, yeah, I was just this whole new language, you know, or language that we haven't heard as much of in the last however many years. It's mental. I love it. Absolutely love it. I was going to say there's. I don't know if this bit's scripted or not, right? But I walked into a pub, in I can't remember the name of the town. Is it
Vernmouth. I think the first one. I think
Vernmouth?
it's Vernmouth. Yeah.
Yeah, and you walk into the pub, and like I say, I don't know if it's whether it's scripted or not, but there was it looked like a husband and wife, right? They're standing by the bar, but they were having a full-on fist fight, right?
I didn't
And I'm
see that.
watching this, I'm thinking, is this scripted or is this just the madness? And I just literally just put my controller down and watched this fight unfold. And she's like, I've had enough. Bang, bang, bang. And then he's like, right, that's it. Oh, bang, bang. He's coming back with punches. They're just knocking seven shades out of each other until one of them goes down and the other one just goes to the bar and sort of like stands there a bit. And then the other one gets back up again, and then they go at it again. And I'm wondering, like, does that happen at a certain time of day?
I didn't see that. I didn't see that.
Yeah, and you just don't know because it feels like it's so emergent in everything it does. It's crazy.
There's so many, like, if you were to sort of go at it and not click with it, there are so many problems with it, like
Yeah,
like
true.
little things, but they kind of don't matter because
No,
like the bits, I don't know how far you've got, but where you've got to go to visit some bloke called like Simon or Sven in the palace and wear certain clothes, and it's supposed to be like stealth missions. You just run up to him, no one cares. It's like the worst stealth missions in video games, but I hate stealth, so I was like, wicked.
yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, don't tell my mother, the queen. She can't know about it. You're the true arisen. But you can go around the corner, just run into a room, and she just says, 'Oh, who are you?' And it's like it's in some ways it's so like buggy and odd and poorly
Yeah,
done. It
almost
kind of
amateur in
it
some
adds to the
ways. Yeah,
charm. Yeah,
yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah,
you
yeah. You
don't
can
care.
tell they've put all the effort into the world itself, I think, and
Yeah,
having little nooks and crannies for you to explore and just what you really want. It's not about the storyline or whatever. It's just really it's like a toy box, isn't it, for you to
yeah,
just like play
yes,
around
yeah,
with? Yeah.
absolutely. The one thing as well, I always go because I've changed vocations, and we will move on soon, listeners. But there's the vocation I always go is like a fighter, the sword and shield thing.
Yeah.
And there's something about this thing that the fighter does that always amuses me. And you can unlock this ability to, if you've got a sword and shield and you jump from somewhere too high, and you're clearly going to hurt yourself, and it
Yeah.
takes off a lot of health when you do that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can hold R1 and he puts the shield in front of him to like absorb the impact.
Oh, brilliant.
There's something about me that really tickles when I'm in a city and you jump and do that, and you kind of like fall down some steps and like clang and they get up really clumsily, and like everyone just sort of looks at you and you're like, yep, I'm the arisen, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I'm your leader, by the way. I just fell
yeah,
down
not
some
gonna
stairs.
see. Yeah,
Brilliant.
uh,
It's a cracking game.
yeah, it's good. Yeah, I'm so glad. I mean, the reason I heard about it is because I listened to a stack of podcasts, and there's a guy called Austin Walker, who used to be on Giant Bomb, and he went over to Waypoint, and they created this podcast with a guy called Patrick Klepek, who used to also be on Giant Bomb, and they basically used to talk about Dragon's Dogma constantly, like almost every week. And this was, say, 2 or 3 years ago. So the game had been out forever, but they were always wanting the sequel. And I always used to look at the original Dragon's Dogma and think, I don't know, that just looks like a very generic sort of kind of RPG fantasy type thing. It's probably trying to be a what's it called? Oblivion, or like a Bethesda style Skyrim. And I never gave it a chance. But they just used to go on it about it so much, and when the Dragon's Dogma 2 was announced, I just thought I've got to give it a go because they've gone on about it for so long, and I've been listening to this podcast for 3 or 4 years, and then I'm so glad it's just as good as what they said, in terms of exactly how it plays and everything else. So yeah, it's a good one. It's a feel good without a doubt. So yeah, all good.
Absolutely, it's going to be on my hard drive for a long time till the third one, maybe.
Yeah. It's one of those games I think where you would end up just keep playing it just to piddle around, not even move the story on,
Well, for the third one or for DLC, can you imagine how good that would be in co-op?
Jeez, that would be.
It would be like that's such a good co-op game.
Yeah, yeah.
So this next question 10, we've done 3 in an hour. That's good for us. What? This is kind of outdated now. Well, not for me, but for you. What game do you want to play next?
Yeah, and I did kind of ones where rather than ones that are, well, I've got 2 here actually. So I've got one that's been delayed a number of times, and that's Stalker 2. And I've never played the original Stalkers, right?
Do you know what? I've got an old version of our spreadsheet we had, and I'm looking at Starfield, which obviously, because we did this a long time ago.
Yeah.
Stalker 2, did you never play the original Stalker? Do you know they just released the originals?
Yeah, and I know that, again, it's a massive time sink, isn't it? To like then get, like, I know it's going to be me for the next year, because I don't know if I ever, Elden Ring. I told you about Elden Ring, didn't I? I pumped 150 hours into Elden Ring, right? And I never completed it.
Like a real man, yeah.
And I was just like, oh my god, that's 150 hours. Like,
It's wild. It's
and
wild.
I haven't completed it. What is going on with me? And I can see there's something like Stalker, the original ones. They look right up my street because I love my Fallouts. And it feels like a tougher version of Fallout from
No,
what I see. But,
Stalker is it's not that long. You'd be
oh,
able
is
to
it?
do it in
Oh,
like
okay.
20 hours or so if you just
Oh,
played. It's
nice.
like, what is it, like Stalker? Then there's Call of Pripyat. There's one that
Yeah.
was not really well received or whatever. But my experience with, I'm happy to talk about Stalker because I don't get to do this often. It is absolutely terrifying. It is. I remember playing it and I've got this weird. It's a bizarre, no, not a phobia, but there's something about radiation that kind of really makes me feel uneasy because it's like this silent,
Yeah.
incredibly destructive thing.
Yeah.
And like when I played the Metro games are kind of pseudo sequels. Not pseudo sequels,
Yeah.
but spiritual successes. But there's something about the original Fallout. It's so incredibly Eastern Bloc in its design and
Yeah.
in like how everyone talks, and it's so downtrodden that there's. I remember in that game going along and literally like with a few bullets, and it's just always raining and drizzly, and you go to like a tunnel, and I would stand in front of the tunnel looking into the darkness, here because I had for hearing stuff and genuinely not wanting to go in there.
You're like, oh, I don't want
It's
to do
like
this.
it's like I know I'm gonna jump. I know I'm gonna hear something and it's gonna scare the shit out of me. And
And
it's
I've only got
just
3 bullets.
yeah, and it's terrifying, but I'm here now and I have to and
Yeah.
yeah, it was a very unique experience. Like
Dread.
yeah, dread, yeah. Like not in, in Metro I'd pot around and whatever. There was something about the tone to Fallout that it felt all encompassing and really overwhelming and every enemy was so creepy and the atmospherics was so intense that you generally I got like goosebumps now thinking I don't want to go into that room. I don't want to go in that room. And I'd be there like putting the pad down going, okay,
Here we go.
here we go. And it'd be like, fuck, I knew that was gonna happen. So yeah, it's one of the most unique games ever made. I haven't played the re-release and I'm holding off because I'm playing Dragon's Dogma. And like you,
Yeah.
I don't want to get two RPGs going on at the same time. It would
Oh,
just
no, I'll
can't.
fry my brain. I think I'll just that's it's just one thing I can't do. Have 2 big games going on. I mean, I can
But
barely have one big game. So it's,
I think I would say that playing the original Stalker is a good. Maybe after you finish Dragon's Dogma 2, finish your time with Dragon's Dogma 2,
yeah,
move on to that because it won't feel like a huge step back because it's such a. Like I said, I haven't played the remakes, but if it's similar to when I played it years ago,
yeah.
it's a very unique experience. It's a very overwhelming experience that will lead nicely to the eventual
Did it
sequel.
only ever come out on PC? The
As far as
original
I'm aware,
Stalkers.
yeah.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware,
I suppose you can get loads of mods as well. And sort of, although like you say, they've done the remakes, so
I'm
it's
assuming
probably
it's like 60 FPS, and which is all you'd really
yeah,
want from it is to not be
yeah.
buggy and be 60 FPS. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah, just to look a bit prettier than the original one, and yeah, run nice, sort of thing. Yeah. So
It,
yeah,
it's it's one of those games that when people talk to me about like, oh, the scariest game you've ever played, and they list off horrors, for me, it's like Stalker was just. It wasn't just horrific; it was just depressing. In
yeah, yeah,
in like the situations you're in, it's like Jesus Christ. Yeah, really good
yeah.
game.
I think it's one of those. It sounds like one of those games that when you go to bed at night, you kind of have those crazy dreams about it. It's like with when I first played Fallout 3, and I used to be going through those sewers and trudging my way through all those zombies, and it's not actually that scary, but it was so. I don't know. The whole thing for me was that was something I'd never experienced before. A depressing, bleak outlook to a world,
Yeah.
and I was all in on it. And then I'd go to sleep at night, and I'd just be dreaming about these horrible like sewers and shit like that. So I can imagine Stalker probably going to be the same,
Yeah, it's.
if
Have you
not
got
worse.
headphones? Could you play it with headphones?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got me.
Oh, that's the way to go because it's something about when you're in a like a really shitty rundown building with smashed windows and the wind's blowing, and then you're like picking up some bullets and working out like, oh, have I got enough to like get back? And then you just hear like,
Oh no.
what is happening now? It's
Don't
exactly
need it.
that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah. What is
yeah.
going
Or
on?
like a
Yeah.
distant like dog barking, and you're like, oh, what's
Oh
happening?
fuck! Here we
Yeah,
go.
yeah. It's just nothing like it. It really is. Metro was a very good series of games, but Stalker was on another level. Yeah.
Yeah, with the Metro ones, I got 3/4 of the way through the first one, and I really liked it. and then something happened with my save. I don't know whether it was this on Game Pass or something. I don't know whether it was on Game Pass.
So,
Can't
so
remember.
what happened? Same thing. I played there was like, is it 2033 and 2034 or something like that?
Yeah, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2033. Is that the first one? And then is it
So,
Last Light or something? Or
yes.
I can't
And,
remember now.
whatever the most recent one was, 15 hours in, and it does the whole thing, which really grinds my gears. The Dragon Dogma does properly. The single save thing.
Yeah.
And basically I killed one of the monsters and it glitched onto my character. So you imagine playing like a game where you can just see a monster's corpse taking up this much,
Oh, friggin' heck.
and it wouldn't move, and I thought I can't play that. Oh, by the way, Dragon's Dogma 2, going back to that for a sec. You can unlock have you seen the arrow you can unlock? That when you shoot it at someone, it's called the Unmaker or something like that. It kills the character you're shooting at, but it also saves your game the moment you fire it. And I was like, fucking hell, that is
That's
a risky arrow.
ridiculous.
Yeah, I know, but I love that shit. So yeah, so your the next game you want to play. Going back to the actual question, if
Oh
you
yeah,
may,
cool. Yeah. Stalker 2,
was
yeah.
Stalker 2, yeah.
Just because of what I've heard, what I've seen, and the fact that I've never played the originals, but I know they would be my type of games. And then these guys have been working away trying to bring out the Stalker 2, obviously with the Russia-Ukraine war. That's
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
put them back, and they've had to. I think they've relocated to Poland. I think to complete it. I'm not sure about that, but I know they've had to go through all sorts of stuff to get this out. So I really hope it's good, and it's the one I've been looking out for the most. To get involved with. I'll definitely jump on it when it comes out. But I just hope it's not going to be like your generic. Like are they gonna sort of just do open world and not take what made the last one special? Because you can get that a lot of the time, can't you? Where it's just like, oh no, what have you done?
The closest thing I can think of to it was, did you ever play a game called Pathologic?
I remember you covering it, but I've never played it. Or I think
So
you did number 2, didn't you, on the website?
yeah,
I remember you talking about number 1.
yeah. So number one was a game that like I read so much about, and I thought, God, what a special experience. And when I played it on PC, it was really just full of like technical issues. It was a really sort of esoteric game, but it was clearly just they, tried to do too much, and it was just full of problems. And then Ice Pick Lodge, the developers, and they were like, we're going to do Pathologic 2, and the problems with funding, and then eventually got made. And I played it, and I thought, it's just you've just done the same thing. You've got the same problems. And I was really, and some people said it was amazing. And when you play a game and you think this to me is a bad unfinished game,
Yeah,
and then other people like, oh, you just don't understand it. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of like David Lynch, right? To me, there are some David Lynch movies that are really interesting, and there are some David Lynch movies that are just bollocks. Because I think if you say to someone, what is this game, album, TV series, movie, whatever, what is it about? And they say, what do you think it's about? It's like, is that a cop out though? So it was a bit like that. I was playing the game and it wasn't fun, and I didn't understand a lot of it, and I just thought, oh, this just feels like a lot of bold bollocks to me, quite frankly. And I completely like
put that on the box.
yeah, a lot of bollocks, and I was just like done with it. I thought you can make Pathologic 3 or 4 if you want, like you. That I'm done. I'm done with it. It's obviously not for me. I forgot what the original point was now. So, oh yeah, Stalker 2.
Yeah.
But with Stalker 2, like the original games are, it's not like they were overreaching or whatever. The original games, apart from, like you said, there was, what was it? There was Stalker Call of Pripyat, and there was
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was called, and one of them wasn't very well received. But I think that Stalker 2, I think the first games were so good overall that it's like they know what the magic is. I'm just intrigued how they're going to try and differ from Metro, because Metro felt like it kind of took over. So
Yeah, this is it. And I think was it the third or the fourth Metro? This is my worry. They went open world, and it felt, from what reviews said, I never played it. It felt a bit bland and repetitive, and it lost the magic of the enclosed sort of being underground in the first couple of Metros that come out. Because I think it weren't it all in an overworld rather than in the underworld in the Metro system. I think in the final one, and then it sort of lost its kind of tension. I think a lot of people said so. It's kind of like, I hope they don't fall down that same trap of just creating a generic open world. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. So that's Stalker 2.
For me, the games I want to play next is when we talked about Streets of Rogue earlier on. I'm very much looking forward to the sequel, even though the original, I think it's Craig Ross, isn't returning to do the music. The second game I'm really looking forward to is a game called Nivalis, which is years ago. I covered a game called. Oh, this is going to really piss me off. I have to do a little bit of research.
Live research.
Because there's a story behind this, and it was my review. It's very memorable to me indeed. What was it called? It was the original game was called something. What was it? I'm on Steam now. Ironlands. What games
How
have
do
they
you
made?
find the Steam app on the phone?
I very rarely use it. Cloudpunk is the game I'm talking about. I very rarely use it. So Cloudpunk came out. I played it on PS4, and it was basically like a voxel futuristic space taxi, and it was just you're a girl with a dog in a space taxi driving around these voxel worlds, and it was really relaxing. It's beautiful, beautiful synthwave music. This enormous sort of cloud city at night, and you're just delivering and just listening to the dialogues of the people in the taxi with you and just chatting to them, and it was incredible. And like sometimes you get out and walk around, and it was quite simple, be it some collectibles, and you had like a house you could build up and stuff. And then they said they were going to do a sequel. So I was loving it, and I got towards the end. It's only about 8 hours long, and it got to the last like half hour, and all of a sudden dialogue just started looping, and I was like, and I was driving along, and I thought, what? And it was doing the intro again, and I realized it's literally step by step going through every line of dialogue I've heard.
Oh,
So
shit.
I said to Faye, we were going up for the day, and I was like, well, we'll go to Cardiff and come back, and it would have been done. But what happened was it caught up with itself and then just crashed. So
man.
And I had to give it like a 5 out of 10 because it's like, well, that's my save fucked. It would have been like a 9, and then I said, but it's just fucked itself. I can't, I can't finish it. To me, it's an unfinishable game. I look at you, Elex 2, and so that happened. And then they said they were going to do this Nivalis, and it's like a whole city. And like the idea of like this beautiful, like melty synth wave driving around a voxel city in a taxi is so appealing to me. So yeah, Nivalis is what I'm really, really looking forward to. You should look into that as well.
Just looking at the Steam page now. So it says, grow your business, manage restaurants and nightclubs, make friends and enemies, buy and decorate apartments, go fishing, maybe even find love in Nivalis, the city that stretches from ocean to clouds. So it does sound pretty cool. And the screenshots look really cool.
Yeah, the graphics are astonishing. Some of the stuff people are doing with voxels now is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, big time.
So, and then apart from Nivalis, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, just because I love the first one so much, it appeals to the stalker brain in me. That sort of, where it's a bit janky, a bit. You kind of have to work with it to get the most out of it. But if you click with it, it's the best thing in the world, and it's all encompassing. So I'm looking forward to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, although God knows when it's going to come out.
I've got the original, and I got it for free. I think it was, Epic do their giveaways. I think they gave it away on the Epic store a few months ago, and I've been meaning to download it.
It's a lengthy RPG.
I was going to say, this is it.
You've got to step back.
Yeah, I used to sort of think to myself, right, I won't get involved in lengthy RPGs that are fantasy, and I always used to think if I just stick to sort of Fallout-esque things, and then that'll sort of like reduce the time that I spend in them. But since I've tried Skyrim for the first time last year and gone down the fantasy route and loved it, I think that's opened up a whole avenue of pain.
Absolutely. It's there's something about like RPGs that I almost get a bit nervous when I can feel myself really getting into one, like Dragon's Dogma. I know I'm gonna piss Faye off because really,
Yeah,
like what I'm
yeah,
thinking of is like the next time I can slip off to play it,
yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah,
on my mind, and I'm like, oh, this is when we should have like a cabin that I can go to for a week and just get
yeah,
out of the system and then come home and I'll
yeah.
be a good husband and father again.
Just a
But
pure week.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
just there's something about it that burns me. So the next question is, in your opinion, what is the best games console? Can I top up my drink before we do this? So
Yes, of course, mate. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna be super quick.
That's all
Um,
good.
you can have a good think about it. Yeah,
There we go. All good.
I do like a drink.
Yeah, why not? Why not? I'm on the waters, so yeah, I'm all good.
On the Rogers. So, in your opinion, what is the best games console?
So these are purely ones that I've come up with because of how old I was and maybe my situation at that point in time. So I think my first one would be Super Nintendo. Um, and I would have been 12 years old, and I'd have been sort of brought up on, as we said on the previous podcast, things like the Atari XE, GS, and sort of slumming it with a Master System when maybe everyone else had a Mega Drive and that kind of stuff. And then along came the Super Nintendo, and I'd never owned a Nintendo before either. So it was that was another sort of thing that makes it even more special. And then it just seemed to like land at just at the right time where I could spend all my hours, just playing on this wonderful machine with this amazing array of games that it felt like I was being treated to. Whereas again with the XEGS, it was always a case of God, what am I going to buy? Because there's not much to buy. So it's really going to be scraping the barrel no matter what I do. And then along comes this Super Nintendo, and it's like, what do you want to play, Rich? You've got the lot, mate. You can literally do whatever you want with this. Although
Did you find that the sound on the Super just to interrupt because I don't talk about the Super Nintendo often. Did you find that the sound on the Super Nintendo was kind of like muffled?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, at the time, I wouldn't have thought that. I mean, if I was playing it at the time, amazing. But then when you compare it to other systems, even if you compare it to say like a Commodore 64, it feels like there's less punch to the sound.
It was great for like orchestral stuff.
Yeah. If you
Then,
got the start of like Legend of Zelda, for example, like where you got
or
that
like
lovely
Final
intro.
Fantasy.
Yeah,
But then for me, when I think about that and the Mega Drive, and I think about like, for instance, right, the drum intro, the Rob Hubbard drums on Road Rash 2. You remember that voodoo?
Yeah,
Like,
wicked. Yeah.
so,
The punch. Yeah.
yeah, I know. I just wonder. It's always struck me as like a little bit more orchestral, where it's almost like that's like the opera, the classical orchestra, whereas the Mega Drive was kind of like a rock band sort of thing.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's just that, and I think where it was my first one that I'd sort of saved all my money to get as well, which made it special. So in my opinion, it had every sort of game you could want, at that point in time. I don't think there was ever a game that was on the Genesis that I felt like, oh, I'm gonna go and get a Genesis because of that. Apart from maybe Sonic, because obviously when Sonic came out, I was like, oh, that looks bloody great, And I ended up owning not a Genesis, a Mega Drive for a while, just to play Sonic and Sonic 2, and then I actually went back to the Super Nintendo after a while. It was kind of like I jumped over to the Mega Drive train, played it for I must have had it for about a year, and ended up selling it probably an exchange of mart or loot or something, and then bought myself another Super Nintendo after that. But
it's funny because for me with the Mega Drive Super Nintendo thing, I found that the Super Nintendo was amazing when you go around someone's house and they've got one and you can play like Street Fighter 2 and they had the Mario Kart and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But for me, like not that I had a particularly unique experience, but for me, what happened for me personally was I kind of grew up on RPGs and graphic adventures and stuff. So it got
Yeah.
to a point when I was like 10 or 11 and all my friends were doing stuff that just didn't interest me, like basically just hanging around on the streets. And I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
I'd much rather be home playing Flashback.
Yeah.
And so for me, the Mega Drive, when I think of my favorite Mega Drive games, it's like Sonic is amazing, don't get me wrong. But for me, it's like Flashback, Landstalker, which is one of the best games of all time, and like Shining Force 1 and 2, ones where I feel like it was very solitary. You
Yeah.
know, it was like
Yeah. That's
me
your
and
world.
me,
Yeah.
me and
Yeah.
this world I'm in. That's what I think about
Yeah.
when I think about the Mega Drive. So, but I can understand the accessibility and like So when you think about the SNES, then like the games that pop instantly to your mind.
Well, I mean, it was the first time I bought the Super Nintendo was the first time I played a Super Mario game. So Super Mario World is still the best platformer ever, like in my opinion. You can pick it up now,
Yeah.
and it's a dream.
It still feels weirdly fresh.
Yeah,
Like it still feels, you know, because of course they've built on it, but it's like it was so above and beyond anything else at the time.
yeah. I mean, it just runs like it's so good. I mean, it's so well thought out. It's unreal. But that was the first one because that was a packing game as well. So it was the original release in the UK. We had Super Mario World and that was it. I don't think we had we didn't have obviously the Street Fighter package at that point because that hadn't come out. What else was there? You would have had at one point we had the Mario All Stars one, so obviously it was too early for that as well. So yeah, you had the pack-in Super Mario World, just the cart, no box, just the cart in there. Jam that in, 99 levels. It's kind of like, right, I'm going to do all these 99 levels. Or I think it might have been 102 if you count the special ones or whatever it was, something like that. And it just felt amazing. Like that game was like, wow, I've never played a Super Mario game before, and this is just brilliant. I mean, that's all I played for. I reckon I must have just played that for 6 months. You know, saving your pocket money to get the next thing.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, beyond that, it's obviously when Street Fighter 2 came out on it, and it got me to the point where I could play Street Fighter at home and try and get good at it. You know, and that was, I think we talked about that last time as well. It's just like such a good conversion. It was just like, wow. And it was back then, that was it, wasn't it? If you could try and be arcade perfect, that was the kind of phrase of the time, you know, if then you've made a great game sort of thing. And they were almost arcade perfect with that.
Oh my god, yeah.
The SNES one. It was just ridiculous.
The
They took
SNES
an
was
elephant
credit.
out of the dowsing level, I think, to make it run a bit better. And obviously with the PAL version, it's not as fast as the American NTSC version as well. I've never played it on that speed either, actually, funnily enough. I must do that one day because people say, like, until you've played the American version, you don't realise how slow the PAL version was. Like,
Yeah.
it's...
Well, it's the same with Sonic. It's like when you put on the power side, it's like and then you put this and it's like yeah.
mental,
But
isn't it? Yeah.
I was never in the tribalistic thing, like, you know, with like football. I know you like football, so I use that as an example.
Yeah.
With like the SNES Mega Drive, it never worked for me. Because I was just like, I was kind of like you. I played with what I had. Like if
Yeah.
someone gave me an Amstrad, I'm like, well, I'm gonna play Amstrad for a
Yeah,
while.
of course. Yeah. There's no
I don't,
like,
you know.
I've never had a thing where I thought, oh my God, why are you playing a Mega Drive? I'd always be looking at my mate's Mega Drive, my mate Paul, and I'd be like, oh mate, that's quality. Yeah, Earthworm Jim, I think he had, and I think that came out on
On the SNES as well. Yeah.
yeah, it come out. I think it came out on the Mega Drive first, did it not, or something? Oh, I don't know. I can't remember now. Might have been, but there was a few times when I used to think, oh, I wouldn't mind a Mega Drive because it's got that or this, and it was a really good version. Oh, actually, they both had a good version of Bomberman, didn't they? I remember playing Bomberman on both.
But then you SNESies always had Mech Warrior 2, didn't you? And we never
Mech
had that
Warrior
on the
2.
Mega. I remember that
No,
being really cool.
no, I'd never played that. I was never into me mechs, if I'm honest. But I was always looking for the good 4-player games like your NBA Jams 4-player multi-tap. that is a dream to play still. That's really cool. That's probably one of my favourite games ever, I think. A bit of NBA Jam. Bit of Bomberman 4-player. That was always great. Yeah, I used to love it. Take the multi-tap around someone's house and just plug all your pads in. It just felt amazing. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Super
We
Nintendo.
we could have an entire podcast about my experience with multi-taps over the years. My God. Do you know my favorite experience with the multi-tap was on the PS2? Have you ever heard of a game called Urban Rain?
Urban Rain? No.
We'll have to do this another time, talk about like multiplayer games or something. But my
Yes,
God,
yes.
there's nothing like it. That and Def Jam Fight for New York, obviously. So you've got two, because on mine, I don't know if this is an old version of the spreadsheet of the Word document. You've got SNES and you've got another one. Have you got another one for yourself as well?
Yeah, I've got I'll put Xbox 360. Is that the
Yeah,
same as
yeah.
what I put? Yeah. And the reason for this is because I kind of fell away from video games for a while. And I think we might have discussed this on the last time as well, where I
No,
just
no, it's question 14 actually. So don't
oh,
give too
okay.
much
Is there
away.
a time when you stop playing? Oh yeah, there you go, yeah. So yeah, this was my reintroduction back to video games. This console, the Xbox 360, and it all stemmed from going to the cinema, and it was the Gears of War 2 commercial, and it's like this very orchestral sort of kind of dramatic playing of this the scene through Gears of War 2, and I remember looking at it, I think, bloody hell, like, video games have come on a long way. You know, I'm sitting in a cinema and I'm watching this massive sort of production trailer of a video game that I've never played before, and I don't think I'd heard of it at the time either. And I thought to myself, I'm going to buy myself an Xbox 360 because that needs to be played, sort of thing. And then I went and bought myself Xbox 360. I played Halo 3 because it came with it, and I was blown away by that. And then beyond that, it was the whole achievements. It just kind of changed the way you played games, you know. And it was the Xbox Live
It's
Arcade,
it's
and
funny you should say that, because the Xbox 360 is the same answer for me for question 14 as well, which obviously we'll get to in a bit.
yeah.
Did you ever play Gears of War 2?
Yes, I did,
Right.
and I got round to playing it soon after I bought the console because of that advert. So yeah, I remember. I never played one. I never played Gears of War 1.
Well, I was the reason I'm just, while you're on that, because you mentioned it, it's one of my favorite video game memories, and it's probably one of the few times that I've almost peed myself with laughter playing a game. In Gears, I think it's Gears of War 2. Like, I haven't played the Gears of War games for a long time.
Yeah,
I was
so
playing with my friend Plowman, and we were playing it. And there's a bit where it's this Marcus and Dom, isn't it? The two
yeah,
characters.
yeah,
And Dom is looking for his wife,
yeah,
and you eventually find her in this like alien vessel, and you open up this container, and there's the cutscene shows what Dom sees of his wife, and she's like this, as she always was, and she's just like beautiful, and she's like, Dom, but she walks out, and then it kind of hard cuts to the situation, and she's like this desiccated kind of corpse, and she falls into his arms, and she's basically dying. And I was thinking, whoa, that was like really powerful. And my friend Plowman said, "Oh, don't worry, mate. Bit of lippy and a Chinese, she'll be all right." And
yeah.
it just completely cut through like this sort
It
of
just killed
someone's
it.
a bit of lippy and a Chinese. And it's always tickled me. Um,
Spot on.
so, but yeah, for me, with like the best games console, I say the Mega Drive is one that, it's the one that Faye and I, that we would one day like to have a full Mega Drive PAL collection.
Oh
That's
yeah.
like our stuff is in storage at the moment, but
How
that's like
far
the
off
sort
do
of,
you reckon you are, like, from getting a full?
oh, quite far. I'd say like 80, maybe 70, 80. We're
Really?
quite.
That's not many, to be fair, in the grand scheme, is it? Bloody hell.
We did have Lakers versus Celtics, which is, look, we sold it basically for like 3.5 grand a few years ago. We had it for years.
Wow.
Picked it up for 2 quid
Jeez.
in a shop in Aber, with the many Abbas in Wales. Not Abercrombie, Abercullen, Aberystwyth.
Oh
Went
yeah.
to Aberystwyth up north, and we picked up Lakers versus Celtics, and we found out it was worth a lot of money. Kept it a few years ago. We were just in a bit of a spot of bother,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just sold it to some Italian bloke for 3.5 grand.
That is
And
unreal. I mean,
yeah,
I
like it
didn't
helped us.
realize it was worth that much. I
Oh
knew
yeah,
it was kind of rare, but geez, that's crazy.
it's one of those things. I think there's only like 12 in the world, but I said to Faye,
What?
it almost felt like a weight hanging over me. Like we could just sell it and it would solve these problems. And it's
Yeah.
a fucking shit basketball game from 1990.
Yeah,
So
and it's going to sit
yeah,
on the shelf, right? You know,
yeah, and it's
yeah,
like I'd much rather have Shining Force. So yeah, we were like, if we sell it, we're gonna miss it as collectors. And no, not at all.
yeah. I bet you don't think about it. I'll be on
No,
that after. Yeah.
with variants as well of things, I don't care about that.
No, yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so the Mega Drive is as a collector, that'd be one because Faye and I both love it, and it's
cracking system. I mean, yeah, I
yeah.
mean, obviously, growing up at that period of time, it's just SNES, Mega Drive that ruled the playground. And then, yeah, I mean, yeah, Mega Drive's great.
Yeah.
My mate had a Japanese one. That would have been called a
Well, this is
Genesis,
it.
actually, wouldn't it? Yeah, that would have the Japanese version. But yeah, he used to get all the sort of Japanese imports and stuff, and it used to feel like special just playing all these games that I'd never even heard of. And yeah, it was
Uh,
really cool, really cool.
our mutual sort of friend, games you loved. I won a competition of about a year or two ago. There's a Japanese version of Outrun on the Mega Drive.
Oh yeah,
And I asked him to write like something on my son because Faye was pregnant at the time, and I won this competition. He sent me the thing, and Outrun turned up. And with the Japanese Mega Drive, you could file off bits, and it would fit
okay,
into a
yeah,
pal.
cool. Yeah. That was the
Uh,
protection, wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah,
the
that
pressure
was.
it would fit, so you could just file it off and it would
Yeah,
fit in. It turned up, and
yeah,
it was filed off, and I thought, I love that. And just something.
yeah.
Um,
That's special. Yeah, yeah.
um, favorite console? Yeah, honorable mentions really for the. I mean, the Amiga. I
Brilliant.
say PS2 and Saturday, but the Amiga was the Amiga was the first time that I realized that you could get stories out of it. Not like
Yeah,
arcade action and a bit of fun with your brother. The Amiga felt like it was telling me stories. Like
yeah.
interactive stories. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was
Fate of an Atlantis for me was the one that did that for me, where I was
oh
like,
the Indiana Jones game.
yeah, that was
I've
just
still not played that. Is it awesome?
still not play. It's amazing. I went back and completed it about 3 years ago because I got stuck at the time, obviously pre-internet, didn't know what to do next. But right up until that point, I felt like I was in the next Indiana Jones movie, and obviously I'm like 12 years old or whatever, 11, 12 years old. So it's still a great game now, and it's still worth playing. And I think I went through it with a walkthrough, but I think we said before, it's just nice sometimes just to play a game with a walkthrough in one hand. You get stuck, you can do it in an evening sort of thing, and it's really enjoyable.
Yeah, I think I guess we touched on this in the first half of the podcast, but time is so precious now to me
Yeah,
that like I can't, and that's why I like the whole Souls genre. I can't get involved in it because
yeah, yeah.
I know that I know there will be a point where I will hit my skill limit or my patience limit, and I'll just think, oh fuck this.
Well, that'll be 150 hours, wouldn't it? So it's just
Into
like,
into Elden Ring, and that's
yeah,
why like I've just
just
learned
couldn't
not
do
to.
it.
No, I just think I'd rather just like play a game and finish it and have a good time than
Yeah,
because like I said, when I finish something, it's like right, okay, that's
done.
cool. I've
Yeah,
done my yeah. The
yeah.
whole new game plus platinuming stuff. I have friends and family that do that. Live the dream, not for me at all.
No,
Like
no. Yeah, I did
slap
that
them on the
recently
shoulder.
with Mario Wonder. Have you played Mario Wonder yet?
We've got it to play
Ah,
on Switch. We haven't
so I
played it yet.
completed it, and then it was like, okay, now you can go and collect all these other things, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it.
Not at
And I
all.
just walked away, and I was happy. I'd had my Mario experience, still trying to.
I do feel like with when my son is older, if he's banging into video games, I reckon there'll be so many that I revisit
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
and go through again, and it'll be a pleasure. But now, when
yeah.
he is the obstacle, I can't do certain things. I can't dive
No, no, it's too
into
much.
it's too much.
Yeah.
So question 12 here is, what's the best weapon you've ever used in a game?
So my one's
That's
a
a
bit of a
good
weird
question. That
one.
is.
Mine was a bit of a weird one because on the face of it, it sounds pretty crap. But I remember the dart gun in Fallout 3, and I remember that you had to find a schematic to build it, and that made it feel special. And that was the
Is
first
this like
time
the syringer in the fourth one? I chucked that shit on the floor because I was like, what? Yeah, so I'm intrigued about this.
This because it's on a schematic, it's very overpowered. But first of all, you got to find the schematic, and then you got to find the materials, then you can build the gun. And it is literally just firing out syringes. But these syringes, you know how tough Death Claws are in the Fallout 3 games. I don't know. I can't remember them in Fallout 4. Were they that bad?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were always full on.
Yeah. So Fallout 3, but if you because you had the VAT system as well, if you aim with this dart gun at Deathclaw's knee or whatever or leg, it just takes their leg out immediately, and they just go. And I just used to have so much fun with this bloody dart gun. Like obviously at the start of the game, you're Deathclaw, you're not going to battle, you're not going to go anywhere near. You avoid them at all costs, but then by the time you get this schematic and you're leveled up and you can fire off this dart gun, it was just so much fun. So that was a pretty random one, but one I remember well because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, there's that.
I was just about to say what mine is, and I looked at, because obviously we did this list a long time ago, and it's still the same. It's the weapons in Blood. There's I love Blood, and
never played it. Yeah.
Oh really? It's they did a they did a remake. What's it called? Night Dive Studios.
Yeah.
Put it on PC, and we played through it as a 12-hour charity stream a few years ago. Me and about 3 or 4 friends. It was amazing, but there's 2 weapons in it. The shotgun, which you can choose to shoot single barrel, double barreled, and it's just so destructive. And the flare gun, which you can shoot, and a flare kind of sticks in someone, and it fizzes. And if it doesn't take down all their health, it kind of fizzes out. But if you hit it and then it does take off all the health, it just bursts into flames. And nice. they run around screaming, it burns, it burns. And I think the way they say it burns is like an Evil Dead film. So it's like some Evil Dead film. And you can also do it in like a starburst thing, where if you press X to do the alternate fire, it shoots out 9 flares. And there's something, it's so satisfying to shoot someone, and you're like watching them walk around and thinking, are they going to burst into flames? and what's the sort of honorable mention for the taser in the first Siphon Filter? Do you remember that?
Didn't play Siphon Filter.
No, really? No. Do you know what? It's aged tragically, and Alpha Protocol was kind of a sort of spiritual successor. The first Siphon Filter game was the best, but you could fire like a wire taser. So it was like your default weapon. So it's like a wire taser, and you would shoot it, and it would hook into someone, and they would like zap. And if you just held it down, they would smoke, and eventually they would just burst into flames, and you'd just be like, and you can hold it down indefinitely, and it just made it. It was just really overpowered and bizarre.
That's cool. So, I like that.
I just like bursting into flames now that I think about it. But so yeah, I know you mean certain weapons just have that kind of cool vibe.
Yeah, my other one was do you know the gravity gun in Half-Life 2?
Yes, yeah.
And it's because you can do so many things with it, and I think the thing I'm thinking of here is when you can get the blades. So you can get the circular saw blades.
In Ravenholm,
Yeah, in Ravenholm, that's it. Yeah. Because that's like obviously the creepiest level, and you've got these zombies roaming around and all sorts. And and you can just get your blade, get it to the right so as it's flat, and then you can take people's heads off with it as you fire it off the gravity gun. That was always lots and lots of fun.
Well, yeah, you take the heads off, and it would wedge into something behind them, and you could just suck it back out and then carry on with it. Yeah. Do you know what? Half-Life 2 was one of those games where I don't think there's many others where you feel like you do such a journey. Like when you come out of that first city and you see, when you're on the buggy, you really feel like it's this epic journey, and it's all told through the environment. Just it's in the distance, and you get a Ravenholm, you're like, it's a fucking horror game now.
What is going on?
What is going on?
Yeah, that is such a memorable game, and I remember it well again because the first time I played it was on the Xbox 360 Orange Box, right? So
yeah,
and it was because of my mate at work kept going on to me. He's like, "You like video games, don't you? Why don't you play Half-Life 2?" And I'm like, "I'm not really into shooters." He's like, "You've got to play Half-Life 2. You have to play Half-Life 2." And he goes, "Look, you can get this thing called the Orange Box, and it's all on there, and you get Portal on there as well, and was it Team Fortress or whatever?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, I might have a look at that." And I went on eBay and found like a cheap copy, and then played Half-Life 2 for the first time, and it had obviously all the episodes on there as well, and it was just like this another light bulb moment of wow, this is what games can be. You know what I mean? It's just like like you say, it's telling a story without really telling much of a story. You know, it's through what you do and sort of the way the you interact in the world and all these like sort of physics-based weapons and it's just so good, man. It's just so good.
Yeah, there were so many moments. Like I remember playing the original Metal Slug in an arcade, and I'm just talking about the things that make you feel like games are moving forward. And like, and you're shooting for ages, and you can shoot indefinitely. But then a few seconds, the kind of relaxed animation, the rest animation, he reloads his gun. And it was so satisfying because I'd never seen anyone reload a gun in a game, and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." And
yeah,
I think
little
it's
things,
those little moments that really stick with you. And
yeah, because on the face of it, like when you look at Half-Life 2, you think, it's just a sort of first-person shooter, and you're walking around in a world and whatever. And that's probably what I looked at it at first when my mate was telling me at work. I was like, it can't be that good. And then when you actually start playing it, you're bloody hell, this is ridiculous.
This is something else.
And then I went and played Half-Life 1, or the original Half-Life, on a PS2. I don't know if you ever played on the PS2.
It was bad. It was really, I had the orange box on PS. I played on the original PC, and it's just like really jittery, and it's like,
it's bloody awful. But I managed to complete it, but because of my love for Half-Life 2, and all I had at the time, I didn't have a good enough PC to play it on, so I went back and got it on. I'm assuming you could have got it on Xbox, couldn't you? On the original Half-Life. Maybe it didn't make its way over.
I'm not sure. I played it on the PS2. Well, I played the Half-Life 1 and 2 on the PC because but after the fact, because I've always been behind the times with my PC. I'm not technical, so I basically always had shit PCs.
No, so to sort of do it backwards as well, to play Half-Life 2 and then go back to Half-Life 1, but on a PS2. It felt like such a weird step. But I managed to get through it. I don't know how, but I remember getting stuck on Gonarch's lair for literally days. I was in the pit. There's a pit in Gonarch's lair in the first Half-Life, and if you end up in the bottom of it, Gonarch has got this clear sort of shot on you, and you can't really get out of the way of it. And oh my god, literally hours upon hours of trying to beat fucking Gonarch, and then finally beat him.
For me, talking about the I remember playing what was that game? The one that was it was like Norse, not Norse mythology. They made about 3 of them, and it was like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse kind of thing. On the PS3 and 4, I'll have to go back to it. But yeah, there was basically I hit a glitch where the game just stopped loading. And it was like I was standing on a platform, there was nowhere to go, and I thought it was some puzzle, and then I realized, oh no, the game is just like glitched. And again, never do this, developers. The single save. So I was like, well,
this is it. Once that's corrupted, you're buggered, aren't you?
If people want to save every 5 minutes, that's their prerogative. Just if you have a single save and the game fucks, that goes. I look at you again, ELX2. It's like that's 30 hours gone. You know.
Yeah, and you're not going to turn around and say, "Okay, I'll start from the start now." You know, that's it. You've lost me now.
Sorry. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'm walking away.
So I'll have to go back to that. I want to say not Darkstalkers. I'll have to think about it. Has a game's storyline ever made you cry?
Yeah, so I put down the one that immediately jumps into my head, and I remember I was playing this on I had a what are they called? It's a Nexus tablet, Google Nexus. That's right. And they brought and I had it, and I was on holiday in Centre Parks, and what I was doing in the evenings, because kids were little, they were going to bed really early, so I had like a sort of 2 or 3 hour window, and I was playing The Walking Dead season 1 every night on this sort of 5-day holiday. And I remember sitting there with my earphones in and whatnot, and there's a bit that's pretty famous. I think the character's name is called Lee, and he dies, and he's the one who's escorting Clementine through the world. I think it's that's right, and then he dies, and I was in bits. And I think it was the first time I'd actually cried for a video game, if I'm honest, because generally, you know, stories don't really hit you that badly, but it would just it blew me away. I mean, and I was a sucker from then onwards for the Walking Dead games. But the problem is my Nexus was fairly old by the time I think the third season come out, and then by the time that come out, I couldn't get it on the bloody Nexus, so I stopped playing them after season 2. It's a right pain. So I've made an effort to buy them. So I think I've got them on Steam now, but again, it's just getting the time to play them. But I will one day finish off the story. But yeah, that springs to mind immediately. That's
Well, I played The Walking Dead. Sort of similar story to you, really. I played the first one, and I remember it was like playing it with Faye on the PS3, I guess it would have been, and you're saying, we'll take it in turns. Chapter, we'll swap the controller. And it was funny because I'd make a decision and then it would be her turn, and there would be such harsh decisions that she would be like, I don't know, and she would just like throw it at me and it would fall on the floor. So I couldn't make a decision, and the bar's going down. And you're like, Jesus Christ, I don't know now. I picked. I just made a decision.
Oh, it's just done it
and it's full on. And I think they were great. The problem with Telltale, the problems I had were, I'm a big Batman fan, and it got to the Batman games, and what I found was, Walking Dead, I watched a few seasons of the show. I don't really watch TV shows.
No.
But when it came to Batman, I was basically, every answer I was just thinking, what would Batman do? Like, it wasn't about my choice anymore. And then so the more they went into sort of franchises, the more I kind of moved away from it, because I thought, I don't feel like a character in a game. I'm just thinking what they would do and making that choice. So
it kind of takes you out of it a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No, they were really good. Like I say, it was just the frustration that it took them so long to bring out the next season. It actually took them ages to bring out the episodes. I think they was doing it episodically, weren't they? On Android. This was because Android was always the last one to bloody get it. I was waiting so much longer than say you were playing it on the PS3. I was waiting a good 2 or 3 months longer than you were getting them on the PS3 if you were getting them at the time they were coming out, sort of thing. It was really frustrating. And then,
to be honest, playing it through Steam now would with someone else would be so much, and just being able to just move on to the next one would be so much better than
because they're not actually that long, are they, either? When you
it's like an hour or two, I think, each one.
That's right. So it's easily doable. But I mean, in terms of hard hitting, that really sticks with me. It was a lip trembler. And the other one I picked was The Last of Us, on PS3, original one. It was the intro that got me on that one. It's just
I've got one of those for my choice as well, like an intro of a game. You're like, why am I crying now?
Yeah, literally straight out the gate, like whoop, bang, like really hits you. And again, it was another step up in terms of the Walking Dead Telltale stuff was good, like for narrative stuff, but then The Last of Us, with the writing and the voice actors and just the way it's delivered and the cinematics and everything else just went through the roof in terms of like narrative stories. It's just like, wow. Obviously now they've gone on to make number 2, and they've made a TV series, which is really cool as well. And I cried at the TV series, I think, and I cried at number 2. I'm pretty sure I did. So
Are you I hate cry. I hate crying at things that are designed to make me cry. Like, I'll cry at music, music I love quite happily, but there's something about what I won't watch films that are sad because I know I'll cry and I dislike crying. So
sometimes it hurts you so much holding it back when you're trying to watch a film. You're like, I shouldn't be bloody crying at this. It's like
and then Faye will turn around and say, "What do you think?" And then you've got the love, and you're like,
it's all right.
That's fine. Yeah, just gonna go outside and just look at some tits for a bit.
Yeah, that's it.
It's just. I hate it. It's for me. I've just, as you were talking, one popped up in my head. So I've got a couple here. I think I mentioned in the first half of the podcast again, and apologies if we are going over a few moments of the same ground because we've done these podcasts months apart. So although I think I am wearing the same shirt, but that's fine.
You got the continuity. I'm in a different background and a different top, I think.
The Secret of Monkey Island, I think I said this in the first half, is when it finished and I was watching the end sequence. I remember crying, and I would have been like, when was 40, so 83. Monkey Island was like, so I would have been like 9 or 10,
Yeah.
and I was crying because I knew I would never experience that world again for the first time, and it
Yeah.
was the first time that had ever happened to me with anything. Like I
Bloody
just,
hell.
I couldn't. It was finishing, and I could see the credits, and I was like, it just. I said, I'll never have that experience again, and it was like a really big moment. I remember
That's
being in my uncle's bedroom, just like sitting there crying, like not because it was like sad, but just thinking, oh, I'll never do that.
that's
On
a
the same
really
hand,
big insight, to be fair, for you to think that at the time, because like I suppose when we're growing up, almost games seem like consumable, and it's just like, oh well, I'm done with that one, I'll move on to the next one. But I suppose it must have had such a big impact on you as a small kid to sort of
I
for
think
it to
I'm.
resonate like that. Do you know what I mean? Oh no, what's happened?
I think.
Oh,
Oh, what's it? I think I
no, I'm
might
all right.
just
I'm
be.
still here. I think. Yeah, I'm still here.
I think I might just be a pussy, Rich, because what I was going to say is, with Loom, there's something about, like, again, from LucasArts. I played Loom after Monkey Island, and the end of that is really lovely. And the ending of the game, I can't even remember it now, but I remember it was about, like, how the moon was created.
Yeah,
Cried at that. But then I was a kid, so I cried at that.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
played Shining Force, so I would have been a bit older, would have been, like, 11 or 12. And the way Shining Force starts is that you're kind of a nobody, and then you go through and you form this gang of people and you beat the big bad guy. You get there's like an explosion, you get thrown out to sea, and the ending sequence is your character gets washed up on like another beach like he did at the start of the game, and someone finds you and says, oh, what's your name? And you say, oh, my name, it's which is how the game starts, and
Ah,
then it
bloody
fades out.
hell. That is
Yeah.
mental.
So that was lovely. Pikuniku, I remember getting a bit emotional about. Sorry, I think I'm gonna sneeze. Pikuniku I mentioned earlier on, but I got emotional about that because it was just so wholesome. And more recently, and this is about 5 years ago, when I would have been in my mid-30s, when we moved into this flat, and I played Observer, the
Yeah,
one with Kahawa.
yeah. I remember I started to play this. Funnily enough, I never
Oh, yeah.
completed it though.
His voice work was so good, and it was such. And it wasn't the game was fine, but it was the
Yeah,
fact that he died, and I was such a big Rakahawa fan. I found that upsetting,
yeah,
and it was like as I was going through the game, I was thinking, oh, this is like his lost creation as an actor.
yeah, yeah.
So that was full on. And you're talking about something that made you cry in an intro. Uh, Faye and I played. I'm gonna get this the wrong way around. Ori.
Ah, and the Will of the Wisp. No,
No,
is it the
there's Ori and the Will
and
of
the
the Wisps.
Blind Forest? Yeah.
Blind Forest was the first one.
Ah, right. Yeah, yeah,
Or say Ori and the Blind Forest is the first one.
yeah,
Played it, loved it. Like we said, we didn't finish it. We loved it. We're like, well, we got to play the sequel. So
yeah,
Ori and the Will of the Wisps came out. In
yeah.
the intro, and I was sitting there. I was like, and Faye turned around. She was openly crying, and I was like, oh, me too. And I thought, Christ, this is an intro to a game. What's happening to me?
That's mental.
So yeah, that's always nice. But I think it's nice that games can. So my nose is so blocked. Pull those emotions out of you, because I don't. When I sit there to play a game, I don't think, oh, I don't want to be made angry. I don't want to cry. I just want to see what's gonna
Yeah,
happen. And it's nice to think, Christ, I'm actually getting overwhelmed here.
yeah.
You know,
It can grab you, can't it? If
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
yeah. If it's done right, and yeah, they yeah, just these, and you think about it when you're growing up and you're sort of playing these kind of these games that I don't know, like a platformer, like a Sonic or whatever. You would never think a game could make you cry, because you just think, oh, that's what games are. They're just platformers, or they're just Pac-Man or whatever. But then yeah, it's
It's a
come on so
shooting.
far.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's
yeah,
mad.
it absolutely is. And I don't ever think, oh, I really want to. I fancy crying now. I think I'll play a
Yeah.
game. And so when it happens, it's like quite surprising as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
although it wasn't that surprising in Last of Us 2. I knew what I was getting into, if
Oh,
I'm
you were
honest.
like ready to box
Yeah,
it to
I was like,
like,
oh, bloody hell. And it was during pandemic as well, so everyone was a
oh
bit
God.
emotional, and I'm playing it in the middle of a bloody pandemic, and it's basically about a pandemic, so it was a bit of an emotional time, to say the least. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so bad timing for that release, or good timing, depends how you look at it, I suppose. But yeah.
So we've got 4 questions left. Do you reckon we'll get through this tonight, Rich?
Well, let's have a look. What we got? We've got 10 past 10. I doubt we'll get through all 4, but let's have a look. Let's what we got next. Stop playing. Oh no, actually, these are quite light, aren't they?
Yeah.
Let's go for it. Yeah, let's do this.
And then come up with the next 20. So, was there ever a time when you stopped playing video games?
So yeah, so let me just have a look. So what have I put here? So after PlayStation 2, right? So the point of this was when I was playing PlayStation 2. I think I mentioned it on the last podcast as well. I was generally only playing Pro Evolution Soccer in my PlayStation 2. I mean,
football. I swear to God,
it would be literally the whole time, like until the next one come out. I would have this one disc in there, and I think I just wore myself down on what games were at that point. I just kind of like got myself into a bit of a rut where, well, I'm only ever playing football games and that's it, and that's all I used to use it for. And then I think PES 6 came out, and it was fairly crap, and I was like, that wasn't very good. And then I just all of a sudden just stopped playing video games, and I didn't. It wasn't a conscious decision. It was just because that version of Pro Evolution Soccer 2, Pro Evolution Soccer PES 6 was so bad that I just stopped playing all of a sudden.
Oh, okay.
On here, I've put and before the Wii come out, and then back in at the Wii. So I think in my head, I'd only come back to games at the point the Wii come out, but it's when the Xbox 360 came out that I think I came back into them. And like I've said before, with the sort of the way that Gears of War 2 was advertised, but also with the Wii as well. I remember when that came out, that was one of those ones where I think everyone all of a sudden wanted to own a console again, and it was kind of like, oh yeah, the Wii, have you seen what they're doing? With that crazy kind of remote control thing, and it's like it's all.
Everyone wanted to play Ghost Squad. That's what they wanted.
Oh mate, Ghost Squad.
The last great light gun game.
Yeah, I've got that. Yeah, I bought that on eBay a few weeks ago. And one of my plans is to one day do a whole series of YouTube videos just on Wii on rail shooters, and it was going to be called On Rails Rich. So I've been scooping up.
Don't tease me, Rich. Don't tease me with stuff like this.
I've been scooping up as many as I can on eBay, but never bloody playing them. I've got them all lined up, ready to go.
Ready to rock.
Yeah, I picked up a Resident Evil Chronicles, I think it is. I think that's what it is, and a few other little odds and ends, and some Evil Deads and all that, or whatever. Was it Evil Dead?
I can't remember.
Is it the one with the house? House of the Dead? House of the Dead? Yeah.
Oh, House of the Dead, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, all these cool on rails. But anyway, I digress. But yeah.
I think for me, there was the main time that I stopped playing video games. Like I'm really lucky because Faye's bang into them.
Yeah.
But with it was the early 2000s. I moved. Do you know the Isles of Scilly? Like just off the coast of Cornwall. I lived there for 2 years, and I was just like a sort of seasonal worker over there. And I met someone, and she was just not into them. And every time I was like checking something on, like I remember playing a really bad 3D version of the oh my god, what's that? Broken Sword. It's like Broken Sword, the Dragon's Arse or whatever it was called. and just like it was terrible, and they're pushing boxes around, and she's like, "Are you playing video?" And she was really dismissive of them, and it was like my first proper relationship. So I was like, "Oh yeah, it's silly."
Yeah.
On the
How
PS2,
old are you and all that crap, isn't it? It's
and I'm like, oh, and it kind of got to me weirdly, and then because I was at a point where you're like, you're interested in girls, and then I had a relationship, and then you're gonna drink in it all the time and stuff, and I was like, oh, I do. And then what happened was we split up, and I when we split up, I remember having an Xbox 360, and we had a flat, and there were 2 bedrooms. So I moved into the other bedroom while she spent a few weeks sorting herself out, and I just played BioShock. I remember just thinking,
what a palate cleanser.
I thought I fucking love video games. I love them.
I get that game. So good.
And play Bioshock, and she would come in and try to sort the relationship out, and I'd literally pause it like, oh, I wish she'd stop crying so she can fuck off, and I can play my Bioshock.
Yeah, I've got plasmids to sort out.
This is very important. And then it just never stopped, and I thought, well, do you know what? The next person I meet is just going to have to accept the fact that I really enjoy playing video games.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
It's not, and it's like it's not harming anyone. And I realized then, no, I shouldn't have been like bullied into not playing it. It's harmless and it's a hobby of mine. She can watch fucking 8 hours of shit reality shows all day, and I can play Bioshock. So, yeah, it was a bit of a watershed moment for me. And then obviously, luckily after that, I met Faye, who's even more of a bigger collector than I am. So, so that was. I feel like a bit of a lost time. Like there was probably some really good games that I missed. You know, like
I definitely missed a lot. I mean, it was some of it's my own fault as well in terms of just playing football games instead of actually like. There's some things that you mentioned. I think, I wish I'd have played that. You know, and you try and go back now, and it's kind of like it's maybe not as good as it would have been at the time. You know what I mean?
Have you gone back and revisited Extreme Sprint 3010?
I can't say I have yet.
I don't think you should, Rich. Don't think you should. So the next character, go-to character in Street Fighter 2. It's quite a random question. This I quite like this.
Yeah. So I was always so originally, obviously, I don't know. Most people probably learn, don't they, with Ken and Ryu. So at the start, I was always a Ken and Ryu man, and then I realised that Guile had this kind of sweep kick. I think it's the hard kick, and it does a double sweep. So he sweeps his leg round once, and then the cheeky little bugger does another one. So and I used to get so many people caught with that I thought, right, my go-to is going to be Guile from now onwards. And I got really into Guile, and I was just literally unbeatable on the Super Nintendo. You know, if you took me to an arcade, I would have just got my ass handed to me. But on the Super Nintendo, I couldn't be beaten with Guile. So I managed to master Guile. But if I was to go back and play again now, I probably wouldn't be able to do half the stuff I was able to do.
The thing is with Guile, like mine is Ken, because I was just call him Kenneth, and it amuses me. So I'd be like, well, because we got an NQ64 here, it's like we go in there. It's like I'm going to choose Kenneth. I think good old Kenneth, and it just amuses me. But with like you say, it's because someone will always go to Ryu, so it's like, oh, I'll go Kenneth. But with me. I used to love Guile when I was a kid. I used to have hair envy because I always wanted long hair when I was a kid. So I had Guile hair envy. But my problem with Guile is the fact that all of his moves involve holding it around. It's not quarter, it's holding. So whenever he suddenly goes,
it's the tell.
Boom, yeah. So
you're walking backwards across the screen. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'll have a Guinness, mate.
Sonic boom.
Sonic around your boom. So that used to bother me. Like you're gonna you can like duck down for a bit and hope no one notices you're squatting like you're having a shit in the car. So, but with all the other like Kenneth's moves are so instant. But Kenneth for me. I do. People who go Dalsim, it's a problem for me.
Wow, mate. Yeah, how can you? I don't know. I mean, that's just the masochist version, isn't it? Surely it's just. I could barely complete it on the easiest level with Dalsim from memory. It was always the last one I tried. Like, right, I'm going to do this. And like level 3, I think got you an ending. So I was like, right, come on, I can do this. You know, it's like.
Well, I'm going to throw in a bonus question here before we move on. What's your least favorite? If you had to choose a character in Street Fighter 2, you're like, for God's sake.
Let's take Dalsim out of the equation. It's probably Zangief, I think, because he's just all he can do is grab. He's got to get right close, haven't you, to be able to do anything with him. And I could never do the spinning pile driver. I mean, I could never ever do the spinning pile driver.
I don't know how it's done, because if you look at I'm sure if you look at how it's done, it says push forward. And then you go in a circle, and you're like, well, I'm going to jump.
It's a 360, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm going to jump.
Jump at that point. Yeah.
I don't get it. But for me, Balrog, if we're having that, I used to hit the punching thing.
But that's all he had, wasn't it? There's no kicks at all.
I like the on Blanca because you can.
Yeah. Same with Chun-Li, a bit of that, and she does a 100-leg kick thing, and
man to man, Rich, and bearing in mind your lovely wife isn't going to hear this. when you played Street Fighter 2 on the SNES, did you ever pause it so you could see Chun-Li's knickers?
Oh yeah, always. Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Were you sans pantalon at the time, or?
It's a very sensual experience with
Yeah, I pushed my glasses right up my nose when I realized I
pixel
could do that.
panties and all that. Yeah.
Pixel panties. But get that website.com. Off we go.
Yeah.
No, I don't write for Game Street. I write for Pixel Panties now. It's all about that.
Yeah. Today's podcast is sponsored by Pixel Panties. Yeah. All good.
These Cheds. So, what's your favorite game series of all time?
This is one of those ones I think with me probably changes each time I think about the question because I love my Fallouts.
Yeah.
And I went with Mass Effect 1 to 3 because it brought me into kind of space opera type games that I never thought I'd be interested in. I'm never really a Trekkie, never really sort of.
And it ties back into the old Xbox 360 thing again as well.
Exactly.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. And the good thing was, or we could look at it as a good thing, is I came into Mass Effect kind of late. So 1 and 2 were already out when I started. So I played 1 and it was great. And then 2 is such an improvement on 1.
Wait there now. You're telling me you didn't enjoy micromanaging separate ammunition for different guns? Oh, come on. In the second one, when they said, "Oh, it's just one ammunition for all guns," I thought, "Thank the gods."
It was a janky experience to say the least in 1, but I loved the game still, so it kind of resonated with me so much that again it was I think it was a recommendation or something. I can't remember why I picked it up, but playing those games 1 to 3 all in fairly quick succession. I think I had to wait for 3 to come out for a little bit, but 1 and 2 were already out, and it just grabbed me. And 3 was a slight let down for the ending, but in terms of the overall experience of playing 1 through to 3, it was something I've got to say was unequaled. If I'm honest,
Unequaled. Well, that's because my experience with I'm with you on the Fallout, because I remember playing Fallout 1 and 2 on PC, and then the third one was like, fucking wow, I'm in the game. I'm in the game, and even
ridiculous.
Fallout 3 New Vegas, which is probably my favorite, and then 4.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah.
And then the whatever it was 76, I dipped into for a while, but online gaming just isn't my bag. But with Mass Effect 1 and 3, I played Mass Effect 1. And I basically got kind of bullied out of it through micromanagement and just sheer textual lore. I thought, this is just, I'm the same as you. The moment anyone goes into space, it's like, best of luck to you. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah.
I don't want to go any further than Gilvagor, quite frankly, let alone space. So when it came to like Mass Effect 2, it was almost like it was an entry to it.
Yeah, you could easily play that as the first one,
and it was the first game I've ever played where I actively fancied people in it.
Yeah,
like when
that's true. I forgot about this.
I wanted to seduce people because I'm like, I'm gonna see your ass.
That's it. I'm gonna do all it takes.
And I love and one of my favorite voice actors who did Wolverine and some of the animated stuff did Grunt in Mass Effect 2.
Grunt,
and I just remember Shepard all the time. He was always in the engine room, and I just thought, I feel like this is my crew, this is my jam.
Yeah. Basically, you'd actually actively go around and talk to everyone.
Yeah,
on purpose, wouldn't you? Yeah. So good.
The third one I never played because my brother Transvaal was so just completely besmirched by the ending of it that it just broke my enjoyment of wanting to play it. And I thought,
oh really?
I thought, you know what? The first one was a bit too heavy-handed and a little heavy. The second one I had an amazing time with. I'm done, I think, and I've never played the third one. So
did you ever...
they redid the ending, and even then people were like, "Meh."
Yeah, I can't remember what the bloody ending was now, but it was more about the journey than the ending. That old cliche or whatever, it was kind of. It felt so good as a 1 to 3. I think with the Fallouts, I love Fallout, but they very much seem like they're all their own game. Do you know what I mean? They don't follow.
Yeah.
They don't follow a story, I suppose. They don't. Or they don't follow a story.
They
really?
just chuck in the same world.
Yeah, there you go. Get on with it.
how do you feel about Andromeda then? Mass Effect Andromeda.
Didn't play it. Didn't never play it. I don't know if you did. Did you? Did you ever get that?
I played it and it just felt it was weird. It was because I loved 2 a lot, and I never played 3. I thought, oh, Joe, I'll jump into Andromeda, and I
Yeah.
played Andromeda, and I thought it was. Do you know when games try to kind of like Fallout 4, they bring in crafting and base building, and it's
Yeah.
like I don't like a large part of what this game is about. So
Yeah.
it was like they clearly spent so much time on the base building stuff that I would never involve myself with. I just thought I don't. It felt like Starfield, that kind
Oh,
of
really?
flat, uninteresting.
Yeah.
All of the character-driven narratives have just been thrown out, and it's all about, oh, you can build your own moon base. I said, yeah, but I don't give a shit about that. So
No, this is it. Yeah, I think it bombed so hard with the reviews, and it wasn't really a. Was it a follow-on from 3? I don't think it was. Was it a
it didn't feel
standalone?
like one. It felt like a standalone thing or like a
Yeah.
separate.
So, yeah, was it different development team maybe as well? I think, and they're just under the. I don't know. It just
It was
just
BioWare. Is it BioWare?
yeah. It would
No.
be Bioware, wouldn't it?
Oh
Would
yeah.
it still be EA sort of Bioware, but maybe the different guys that were originally part of the 1 to 3. I don't know. I can't remember now. I know it bombed hard because of the reviews and whatever, and I just thought,
Yeah.
you know what, I'll leave it at 3 because I don't want to spoil it almost, you know. So it's
No, I think you saying that is, and again, I think I've said this before, is there are certain games like Monkey Island that I don't feel the need to revisit because they live in such a perfect glass case in my
yeah,
mind. I don't need to go back to them. I'm
yeah,
happy with them being as they are.
yeah.
My favorite game series of all time. There's probably a few. Like I love Shining Force, but they always taper off. Landstalker, I will always say, should have been a series. It was such a unique premise, just with isometric adventure, that it never moved on. But The Witcher for me, because I played the original Witcher, and the combat was complete shash. Like I loved the misery of it, and then the sequel came out, Assassin of Kings, and I was like, oh, I'm really enjoying this. And the sequel, I brought this up a few times on Twitter. Witcher 2 contains one of my favorite moments of dialogue in a game, and it's where someone has been poisoned and another, it's like a witch has been poisoned, and you have to go out and get this, like these leaves or whatever, to make this antidote, but it has to be passed lip to lip. And so this like hot witch puts like this stuff on her lip and kisses this other like poisoned witch, and there's a dwarf in the background, and he just says, ah, my favorite kind of magic, lesbomancy. And it's like, it's so, and everyone just like looks at him, and I thought, what a line, what a line.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah.
But with The Witcher 3, when that came out, I thought, Jesus Christ, this is like, an entire world. And I love the Witcher series so much that it's not very vertical. It always had problems with its verticality. I'll give it that. With The Witcher 3, when I finished the game and I finished the DLCs, I was so hungry for more. I bought the Andrei Sapkowski, I think you say his name. I bought
All
all
right,
of
yeah.
his books and literally read
Bloody
all the
hell.
books. And I'm in the middle of reading them all a second time now because
Nice,
I'm
nice.
like, I'm gonna have to play Witcher 3 again, and then they're gonna reboot The Witcher 1, or remake The Witcher 1, make Witcher 4, and I'm like, no, that's my jam. I'm up for this.
They're
So yeah,
working on something else now, aren't they? I wonder if that will be Witcher 4. I know they said they've stopped working on obviously the Cyberpunk 2077. They brought out the DLC, didn't they? So maybe they'll go back to the Witcher. Well, who knows? Who knows? Hopefully.
what's that beeping? Is your low battery on your pacemaker? Do you need
Yeah,
to have
this is good.
it?
I'm just trying to revise myself as we speak. Never
God,
finish this.
it's going dark. So this is the final question for this one. We should really do another one of these. I love
Oh
it every time.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, we'll think up a new theme and dive
So
in.
So we got top 5 favorite games covered at Games Freezer, and the worst games covered at Games Freezer.
Right. Okay. What have I put here? I don't think I've looked at this. Okay. Right. So these ones I have picked out where. Yeah. So I picked out Greedful, which I've spoke about previously, because it was such a surprise, and I think, like we said before, I'll cover so many games on 10-minute tasters where I'll play them, and I might play them for sort of an hour and then never play them again because of the amount that come through. and you can't invest
yeah.
so much time. But this one grabbed me so hard after the 10-minute taster that I literally put down everything else and played it, and just played it to its completion. So that's why that's on there. Vampire Survivors I put on there. Now that was, again, such a surprise in terms of what it looked like versus how it felt to play, because it's such a, I don't know, it's such a weird game. It's like playing a fruit machine almost. But you're moving a character around on the screen, and it's just throwing all these crazy things up at you, and it caught the zeitgeist as well. So everybody was kind of talking about it at the same time. We got a code, and I looked at it and I was just like, oh, this looks really, really odd, and like just
Really basic.
Someone's thrown it together.
Walking around an auto fire. We've had so many pretenders to the crown from that game. Yeah, we've had so many. Yeah,
big time. Yeah, there's so many clones out there. It's unreal. But this, it just hit so hard, and I had it on the Steam Deck. It was around about the same time I got the Steam Deck, and I would sit there with it. B would be watching some rubbish on the telly. I'd have my Steam Deck playing Vampire Survivors, and it's just it was such a, never a game that I would thought I would enjoy like I did, but it's just got something. It's got this music, it's got these sound effects, and it's got this game loop. And it's like you said earlier about mobile games, where you need a game you can dip into for X amount of minutes and then drop and not have to sort of put in 2 or 3 hours into it. It's exactly that. You can do a run that can last 20 minutes and you're done. You're like, yeah, I'm done with Vampire.
I've had my fun, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's one that I'm glad came through the box, because I don't think I would have played it. It's one of them things that without doing the website, I maybe would have never played Vampire Survivors. And I'm glad I did. It was very, very, very cool, very different, and just bonkers, absolutely bonkers. They've done so many crossovers now as well. It's gone through all sorts of different crossovers with like, what's the bloody game where you're a suspect and you're on a spaceship, and the girls love it. Among Us. They've put an Among Us one out, and they've done all sorts. I mean, I think it was a single guy dev as well, who originally brought it out, which
is always lovely to. Yeah, he must be minted now.
Absolutely, man. I don't know what he's going to do next, but he's been doing DLC and all sorts of add-ons for Survivors for the last. This must have been out for 2 years. I think it was the last couple of years, isn't it? Vampire Survivors.
Funnily enough, only last night I was lying in bed and I couldn't sleep, and I was scrolling through, and they popped up that the dev of Vampire Survivors has apparently bought the web domain to pixelpanties.com. And he's like, I'm just going to draw Chudley with her ass out. And, so good move, mate. Good move.
Well done, mate. Yeah. He got in there before us. Yeah. To the chuds. Right.
Chudley's chuds.
Chuds, Chudley. The next one on there are the two kind of multiplayer ones that jump out to me. Again, landing in the Games Freezer sort of inbox, and it's Moving Out 1 and 2, and it's at a point where the Moving Out 1 came out just as my kids were getting into sort of playing more advanced games, more advanced multiplayer type games that we could all play together. And Moving Out 1 came out, and oh my god, that's so much fun! Like putting four of you onto the Switch. Everyone mucking in, trying to get as much furniture out of a house as possible, and like on the back of this bloody truck, and it's all going wrong. It's just bit, at least the Overcooked. Basically, it's Overcooked, but we're moving furniture out of a house. And 1 and 2 came through the Games Freezer, and I absolutely love playing them with the girls. That's a cracking 1-2 combo. They're both very similar, to be fair, if I'm honest.
I played the first one. I give it 9 out of 10 because I was like, this is just fun. And it's just when you're clambering out a table and then smashing it through a window into a van. It's just it's never not funny. I remember. Really good.
Or you're shouting, I need 2 people on this fridge. Come on, I need a second person. We've only got 20 seconds left. I need to get this fridge out the door. And so it's all good. And then the other one, I think you covered this. Heave Ho, did you cover it?
Yes, yeah.
You did, didn't you? Yeah. So this,
I've played this so much over the years, and I sometimes I laugh watching people try to do the tutorial, and I'm like wheezing with laughter because as they try to understand the whole let go and grab thing.
yeah. So we've
Yeah,
been doing 4 players on this as well, and it's been absolutely brilliant. And again, probably a game I would never have played if it hadn't come in the games freezer. But yeah, so glad because then we get to sort of right. What we're going to play tonight, guys? We're going to play Overcooked, Moving Out, Heave Ho, and it's always like 4 players of one of those, and it's
so
all good.
lovely. Like I'm waiting for like Axel to be a bit older so I can do that because it's
Yeah,
going to be so special. Because of course it's
it's
basically just
wicked.
playing with your mates. But yeah, this is going to be a special time.
Yeah.
You talking. I'll start off mine with you talking about Heave Ho. The I've forgotten the name of the developer now, but their previous game was Mother Russia Bleeds, which is one of the most
Ah,
unpleasant games I've ever played. But it's in my top 5 because have you ever played Mother Russia Bleeds?
I haven't. No, I remember you
Right?
covering it. It was early on, weren't it? Was it
Yeah,
one of the
really.
earlier games?
So I had it on PC when I used to do the PC stuff, and it's basically
Yeah.
like a Streets of Rage kind of game, like Final Fight, but it's just set in this really like dystopian, horrible future, and you choose between basically like a load of like effectively like nasty gypsies,
Yeah.
and and then you're just playing, and like it's just these like horrendous, nasty fights where it's like Streets of Rage 2, but with like the filter off, so. One of the buttons is literally one of the buttons, one of the characters, and they just spewed. And you're like, they just went, "Ugh," and you're like, they doesn't do anything. One of them, he just put his hand on his pants and just threw a shit at someone.
Oh,
Um,
mate.
and there's one where you can like get this drug, and it's like you suck up the drug from a corpse, injecting it yourself, and get like a boost. And it was just like really unpleasant, but really satisfying visceral combat
Yeah, I'm
with a
just
load of like
refreshing
horrible
my memory
characters.
with the screenshots now, and it's just like,
and, and, and I was like, wow, this is like Streets of Rage 2 for adults. And
yeah.
then after that, I was like, oh, what are they gonna do next? And it was like, oh, heave ho. And oh, really like family friendly, fun, silly game.
That's
So,
ridiculous.
which is so I love that. Tex and Fan, I've already talked about. Streets of Rogue, I've already talked about. And Aground was the first Games Freezer game I
Oh
gave
yeah.
a 10 out of 10. And the reason I had a 10 out of 10, I've been quite looking forward to talking about this, is because it it was the first game that Faye was hip steep into Animal Crossing during lockdown, and I needed a game to play. And I love playing a game that I get to review, if you know what I mean, because I get to talk about my experience with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't use the Switch, I can't use the Xbox because she's using the Switch on the TV, so I'll have to use a PC game. And I found a ground, and it was it's kind of Terraria-ish, but it's the music and the design is pure magic, and the game just keeps on evolving in scope. Like you're on a little island, and you get your shops, and you do some mining, and then it's like, oh, there's another island, and then oh, there's a city, and then oh, you go through this wormhole and go to this alternate reality. Oh, but also now you can go into space, and now there's planets, and I was just thinking this game was made by like 4 people, and it felt truly magical. Like it felt like an Amiga game that would have been made by like 80 people,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I just thought I feel like a kid. I'm playing this game and I feel like a kid again. Like
Yeah.
I'm surprised by what I'm being shown. And then after I had finished my time with it, Faye a year later was like, "Oh, it's on Xbox now. I might start playing it." And I literally, and she's 25 hours in. I just sat and watched it with a glass of wine because
Oh,
it's
brilliant.
such a magical game. I just sat there and watched it, just thinking, what a beautiful game, to sit through and watch people discover. So that was one of my favorites. Jetamiro as well for the soundtrack. And now we move on to, I know it's getting late, so we'll have to wind up. The worst game you've ever covered at Games Freezer.
So mine is the worst game because of how much I hoped it was going to be great. And
Oh,
it's
okay.
called Kickoff Revival. So Kickoff,
Football,
obviously
that is Rich, again.
football again, mate. Honestly, I saw this when it came in, and I thought, oh, brilliant! This is going to be so cool. Dino Dini's doing a Kickoff Revival. It's going to bring back the glory years of sort of Amiga football games, the top down and all the rest of it. And I was just like, oh, this looks so cool. And it turned out just to be a pile of shit. I mean, it was like 3/4, maybe half finished. It was, I don't know what happened. I really don't understand what happened because it's quite a simple premise to just build it. I mean, he's been building football games for all of his career, you know, and I don't know whether he just got tempted back with some money from Sony or whatever. They really hyped it up, and then I played it, and it was half the game of the original Kickoff, let alone sort of Kickoff 2 or whatever. It was such a letdown. It was just unbelievable. So yeah, that one sticks in the memory for me big time. I mean, we've played some shit that comes through, but that just, I don't know, it just really stuck with me that how bad it was. There was another one actually where I think the guys were from Sensible Soccer, another football game, were trying to sort of cash in on the nostalgia, and they brought Sociable Soccer over, and it was a similar type of deal there. It was almost just trying to live off the name, but they didn't feel like they put any effort into creating a game that was coherent, and it just felt like half done again and just put out there and hoping that people were going to buy it because it's Sociable Soccer, the follow-up to Sensible Soccer. And same with this. Kickoff Revival. Oh wow, that's going to be good, you know. But it just absolute shit. I mean,
John here from Sensible Software. We went to we went to when they were showing Sociable Soccer, because I'm not into football games, but I remember seeing it round, and he was. Did you ever play Cannon Fodder?
Yeah.
Right. Cannon Fodder has one of my favorite pieces of music in it in video gaming.
Yeah, brilliant.
Do you know when it goes back to the when you see the sort of hill of death with the crosses on it, and the music is. It's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's called Narcissus, and that piece of music in my head has been one of the most beautiful pieces of music in a video game for coming on 40 years. And we went to it was Leeds, and John Hay was there, and he was doing an acoustic set. It was him and a bassist or another guitarist, and they were going to. And I said to Faye, they're going to play Narcissus from Cannon Fodder, and you're gonna watch me fucking cry because I've been waiting for this. But what actually happened was, Rich, to tie in with your disappointment, he'd written lyrics, hadn't he? So he started playing chords and singing these the most bollocks teenage lyrics I've ever heard.
Oh no!
And I said to Faye, "We have to go. I can't. We have to." We left.
It. Yeah.
I said, because I'm a musician myself, I said, I can't. This is actually fucking up my childhood. We have to go, and we just left to go batted. So John here,
bloody hell.
Yeah, it was bad. So yeah,
well, he did it with Kickoff. Not Kickoff with Sociable Soccer as well. It's almost like he was just cashing in, and
that man should never write lyrics. But so I guess the last thing for today, the worst game I've ever covered, and it always pops to mind, is it was called something like Inspector Case and his sidekick Robot, or Inspector Case and Robot, and it was some sort of graphic adventure that I covered really early on, and it was like sort of big Amiga-y sort of early 90s graphics, and you were on like a train or something, you had to solve some sort of crime. And I can cope with games that are bad or broken. I look at you, Wasteland 2 on the Xbox. But I was playing it and I thought, this is really making me feel uncomfortable. And it's because all of the humor in it, it was really badly designed. Like all the text boxes were overlapping each other so you couldn't see. And it was a really bad layout in terms of the HUD and stuff. But all of the jokes in it were either like just racist.
Oh my God.
And I was like, this would have been like 2017, 2018. I thought, what? And it was making jokes about like black people eating fried chicken and stuff. Wow. And I thought, this is the lowest common denominator. And I just stopped playing it. And I don't know, it was back before we did numerical reviews, but I just thought, I'm not playing that. That's just.
I reckon it's been taken off Steam. I can't find it, so I wonder if it's been taken off Steam.
I did. I mean, it was one of the early games I reviewed. It was called Inspector Case something.
Yeah, that's.
But it was.
That sounds real bad.
Yeah, that was so I played games like bad controls and whatever, glitchy, maybe don't look properly, but to just be really, I don't want to say offensive, but just lazy and bad, and it's such a poor sense of humor. That was easily the worst one for me. And what surprised me afterwards, it was part of like a trilogy, and I was like, who said we need more of that?
This is what the kids want.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ! I'm determined to find Inspector case. I can't bloody find it. Maybe we took it down.
Yeah, the review was just but
Yeah.
I'll have to dig it out if I can, because my review would still be up. But
Yeah,
my
your
God,
review should still be on there. Jeez, man.
bloody terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's grim. That is proper grim. Right. Well, there we have it, mate. I think we've done it. We've done it.
It only took 4.5 hours as well to get through 17 questions.
Yeah,
Rich,
4.5 hours and 6 years. Yeah.
the second time in 6 years that we've ever spoken. So thank you for everything you do. I love Games
Cheers,
Freezer.
mate.
Still writing. What's are we going to do another one of these? And what's the
Oh
context going to be?
yes. Yeah. We'll have to think of something, won't we? We'll have to put our heads together and pull together some. I like this question format. I do like it. I mean, there's so many questions, isn't there, that we could butt our heads against each other with. So I think that's probably the way to do it. And we just maybe run through a few more gamery questions, and then we can just rattle on about everything and anything. I like that.
Yeah, we'll maybe stick to like between 5 and 10.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah,
because we
if
talk
there's
a lot
something we've
about.
learned, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we can get through 10 in a session, in a 2-hour session. So yeah, sounds about right. All good.
Yeah.
Right,
But
mate.
yeah, have a beautiful evening, and thank you for everything. Like I wouldn't be here without you doing Games Freezer. I wouldn't be doing half the things I do without
Mate.
yeah. So thank you so much.
I still have to pinch myself sometimes that we do what we do, because this isn't our job, obviously, and we get access to so much stuff that I would just think, blimey, how did that happen? And we've never put any money into doing it either. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like we've sort of put money into building a website. The the only thing we do is we buy the domain every year, and that is literally it. We've never advertised. We've never done sort of promoted Twitter posts. We've never done anything like that. And yet here we are. We get access to all these blooming games and all the things that people like to send us to take a look at. I'm just thinking, bloody hell, how did that happen? Mental, isn't it? Absolutely mental.
I honestly just wish we could cover it all.
Yeah.
I wish we could, even if it's mini reviews or little 10-minute tasters. But one day maybe. But it's heartbreaking seeing all the stuff we get sent. You think it'll never be touched just because
that PC pile is just unreal.
Oh my God! Yeah,
it must go back 4 years, I reckon. I was looking at it recently, and it's, if you start scrolling, you just never stop. It's literally.
I think Pong is on there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's this guy called like Nolan Bushnell. He wants an interview or something. I don't know what's going on there. I'll get back to him eventually. Yeah.
Sounds like an asshole. But no, yeah. Thank you so much for Games Freezer, and
thank you, mate.
Long live the mighty GF, and we'll be doing this for a long time.
Yes, and maybe we've started something new with this as well. I like it. We could do our little podcast and keep it running, and all good. I think what I'll do with this is I'll piece it together, and we'll put out a 2-parter on YouTube, and if you wanted to put it on the podcast platform,
I'll check it up
if you wanted to. Yeah, so that'll be all good. But yeah, okay, mate. All right, off to bed, I think.
Yeah, no Dragon's Dogma. You can do it?
I'm tempted, but if I start, although if I go upstairs and everyone's asleep, then maybe I will slip in a quick half hour. 3 a.m.
I might have to. Yeah, quick 3 a.m. Quick, like you can feel a dodgy back. Quick day off work. Coming in.
Yeah. Bloody hell! I'd never get away with that. I work from home, so I was like, I could just, even if I feel rough, I just end up wandering into the office and like, oh shit, I'll just log on,
Just log on a quick 6 hours of Dragon's Dogma. Right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, 2 screens. Yeah, Dogma, work.
Love it.
Love it.
Well, yeah.
Love
have a good evening. Love you, and
love you, mate. Love you too.
I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, the mighty GF. Cheers, mate. Speak soon.